Greetings, sentient beings. This broadcast is not intended for children. There will be strong language and adult themes. In the fall of 2017, I created my first channel. YouTube deleted that without explanation. So I created another one. They deleted that one without explanation. But the third channel stayed up. And that's what you're watching tonight. The most resilient channel on this platform.
Damn right, I'm pumped. I wasn't hyped, but I'm hyped. I wasn't. I'm ready to go.
What was the name of the other channels?
Actually, I had to transport the purple rhymes with orange name over, which I think might be part of why my channel's still broken. But you know, I wasn't going to give up the name. I never did figure out why they deleted them, because the first two got deleted before I ever posted a video. So they must have gotten deleted because of comments I was leaving, you know, on other people's things. And my best guess is that there was a Muslim guy that I had been pissing off, and I think he just kept reporting me until they canceled me.
Did you insult the prophet in any way or something?
No, I just kept saying that his arguments were completely pointless, and you know,
so he hurt your.
He was getting on. He was commenting on atheist streams with quotes from the Quran.
Mm-hmm.
And I was basically just telling him that that doesn't apply if they don't believe in God. And that was basically the gist of it. And we were going back and forth like that on, like, you know, 3-4 different channels.
Oh, that's awesome. Oh, there's a. I avoid the streets that the Hebrew Israelites and the 5%er Muslims are on, because I've heard every argument. Because they stand on street corners and yell at people.
And here is my artist that did the lovely new avatar for me.
Yay!
So, did everybody see my new avatar? She made me so cute.
Oh, that's
adorable.
Nice there. I like it.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, if I could have transitioned when I was about 22, maybe I could have looked something like that.
Aw. It's awesome. It was an honor making it, actually. It was a challenge for me to, you know, because I don't have necessarily the skills at the moment, but I started digital painting actually last year, like in the summertime, and I've been getting somewhat better at it. So this one was definitely a challenge that I was able to.
And Junie sent me like the first drafts, and I realized that they'd never seen a picture of me. They didn't know what I actually looked like at all. So did the first draft strictly by going back from the old avatar.
Yes. Until my computer boots back up, I figure I just at least go mobile. So if I start lagging, please let me know.
Oh wow, that was so the other day Junie was in the TARDIS, and at certain times they were 5 minutes ahead, and at certain times they were 5 minutes behind.
I still want to know the 5 minutes ahead. It's happened to me in Dave's stream when I went in there the first time. I was like, oh no, please don't, not this again.
What is that? Is that your connection?
I don't know, because right now it's fine, right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
You know, long before the internet was a thing, back in the 80s, there were several people that had a running joke about me being 12 seconds out of sync most days.
I know that feeling, actually. I feel like that most days myself.
Yeah, I'm actually happy how it came out. Well, your avatar.
Oh, it's beautiful. I'm thrilled with it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've noticed that you were using a couple of, I guess, older avatars within the last few weeks.
The more cartoonish one was a piece of fan art that I got sent from Nigglesbot. He's a young artist in Australia.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I have yet to get Well, I've received one fan art, but that's mainly from my partner. That's pretty much it. I'm just happy that it came out nice.
Yep. And then the other ones, the robotic Viking and the robotic Triceratops, were actually ones I had commissioned from Trey Baldwin when I first started my channel.
Oh, they're awesome.
I've seen the robotic one, and I tried to incorporate at least in one of the concepts something like that, but with Power Rangers, because it just reminded me of the old. I mean, I think all the Power Rangers uses those robots, but it really reminded me back in the of the Mighty Morphin ones.
Of the droids, which were amazing.
I'll forgive you for mentioning Power Rangers, but what's Transformers?
No, I know. It's just it just reminded me of it.
Yeah, well, I didn't expect most people are too versed in the Transformers lore from the original series.
Mm-hmm.
But they had these ones that were called Power Masters. That was basically a big robot as a vehicle and a smaller robot that turned into the engine.
Exactly.
And that was supposed to be the concept for my Transformers, was that the Triceratops was a Dushafo Sahara, and the Viking would transform into the rear engine. I say the rear engine because the Sahara was their four-wheel drive model, and they could never figure out how to sync up the two axles. So their final solution was two separate drivetrains. The car actually had two engines and two transmissions, one for each axle.
Oh, that's so complicated.
So you could literally blow out an engine and still drive home.
Oh, wow. That's super complicated, but now you said blow an engine and drive home. I'm impressed
because of that, they became very popular for desert explorations. So they were used by a lot of archaeologists in the 50s and 60s.
Oh, awesome.
Even though only 50 of them were ever made. And at last count, only 17 are surviving.
Oh, wow.
Which vehicle is it?
See, I learn a lot here.
What's it called?
I got to step away just for a moment.
Go ahead.
What vehicle is he talking about? I missed the name.
Sorry, I was smoking a J and coughing over half of it, so I didn't necessarily hear it.
No wonder you look so calm.
This is so on the weekends I have 48 hours to myself. So I'm like running around like I must have fun, I must enjoy myself.
So you have your son during the weekdays?
Yeah, he's with me Monday through Friday.
Ah, okay.
And he's with his mom on the weekends.
Hmm.
Yeah. So on the weekends I sleep in. I walk around in a bathrobe with sunglasses on only, flip-flops sometimes.
Well, today's a different day.
Usually on Saturdays, I'm always like, oh, I'm going to party hard. And I'll sew something and I fall asleep sitting in that chair watching YouTube.
Nice.
I skip the first part and go, you know what? I'm just going to sleep through everything. Good night, everyone.
Yeah, exactly. And if it wasn't for coffee, I wouldn't be so cheery right now anyways. No, but it was important to stay up for perp. I made the mistake this afternoon. I went shopping and I'll tell the story later, but I heard a crazy story my mother told me. But I go to this Greasy Spoon place and they make breakfast burritos. And I'm not even telling fish stories. They're quite literally like this big. I'm probably making it small with my hands. They're huge. And so whenever I eat a breakfast,
hey Sam.
Good morning, motherfuckers. It's 6 a.m. I should not be up.
Go back to bed, sweetheart.
Well, appreciate you stopping in with us.
That doesn't work, Tria. Hi, guys.
Hey,
It's 12 midnight. I should not be up.
it's 10:14. I should be asleep in that chair when I was just talking about right now.
It's 1:14 for me. All of y'all, push.
That's a mood trip.
Oh, do you have 114 with you?
Yeah, I'm
Okay.
in Florida. I'm on East Coast.
Oh,
So
yeah.
before I forget, something kind of weird happened today.
Will, if I can ask you to hold for 1 minute.
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah. Because Jenny was asking about the car as I stepped away. So this is the car I was talking about, the Citroen Sahara.
It looks like it's
That
a
it actually has 2 separate engines.
Oh wow.
Okay, I like that. I want
Yep.
one.
That's
So it
basically-
was the set of
That's basically a
characters.
douchable.
Yes, it is a douchable.
If it has a sunroof, that's total southern. I could drive that around here.
Yeah. So the Triceratops here was supposed to transform into the car, and the Viking was supposed to transform into the rear engine.
Awesome.
Okay, that's all.
cool.
I just wanted to show everybody the pictures. Okay, Will.
So, my dad passed recently. Every Saturday, I hang out with my mom in the morning. I actually help my mom whenever I can. And today at the grocery store, she told somebody that I've known my entire life passed, and it wasn't a bad thing. They were older, they were suffering. You know, they had leukemia. And in all of the conversation, we were going, you know, saying what a great person this person was. And then my mom said something that took me back, and she was like, but he never accepted Jesus Christ as his savior.
Good for him.
And then she said that, and I'm like, because I was half listening, and then I'm like, okay, I want to hear this story. I said, I'm invested now. I said, oh no, I want to hear everything. And because to the best of my knowledge, this particular person, their wife is from the UK. If you ask her, she still identifies as the Church of England. The person that they go around the world with is Presbyterian, and my mom's a Catholic, and they're all hardcore Jesus freaks, you know. And they were like worried, and I looked and I was like, so he died an atheist. Good for him. But my whole point is, this is the first person I've ever heard of where they asked him to have a deathbed confession, and he told them to fuck off. So he died an atheist. I'm so happy. It put the biggest smile on my face. This man, he lived how he wanted. And you know what? He never told anyone. He lived his life.
It really pisses me off that, you know, people are really pressured for that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that even, you know, the chaplains will come in the hospital, you know, and ask them if they have anything they want to confess in that. And it's like, you know, if they didn't believe in God in the first place, leave them alone.
And they knew, apparently, the people, you know, that were close to him, they knew that he was an atheist, and they still tried to get a confession out of him, and he said, fuck off.
All right, I got to confess.
Jeez. Yeah, my grandmother died.
With your mama.
Yeah. So I was like, so she's telling me this story, and I'm like getting hyped up. I was like, heck yeah. He died. Like, he died how he lived, and he lived in peace. He hung out with religious people. He kept his mouth shut.
I have to be really careful sometimes when things like that happen, because my immediate response is, well, I guess I'll see them in hell, literally.
That's so true. And he was fun, so he'll hand me a bottle of whiskey if I do go to hell.
See, the trick is, for me, that I believe Christians are probably going to hell as well, because I believe in hell as in the Norse concept, with one L, which is basically just chilling.
The one I am terrified of is the Viking version, Helheim, because it is described as being just an existence of mind-numbing boredom.
You wake up, fight, and eat.
No.
No.
No,
So
that's Valhalla.
that-
That's where the people who really made it, when people who proved
Oh,
themselves
okay.
as a warrior. The
So-
people who didn't do anything noteworthy with their life wind up in this place of eternal boredom.
So that's not actually strictly true. Everyone, so within the Norse concepts, and I think Anglo-Saxon too, the soul has multiple parts. So Valhalla or Valhalla is actually a part of your soul goes, but everyone has a part of their soul that goes to hell or Helheim. So everyone's soul would go to Helheim.
Okay, well, that's what I said about if I were to believe in the Christian concept of heaven and hell, I think hell would be much easier to take because heaven sounds incredibly boring. And I think eternal torture would be easier to handle than eternal boredom.
I think
I
have
just
to
don't-
move. I'm thinking I have to move because if I'm dying around any of these weirdos that I know, they're gonna try to get a deathbed confession out of me. I gotta move. And I want
I'm sorry, I'm
simultaneous
laughing
video.
so hard. I'm laughing so hard because Will and I have spent the past couple of nights chatting with each other in after shows about the people in his neighborhood. He's surrounded by fucking Mormons. That's
Oh,
why
yeah.
I'm laughing so hard.
Oh yeah, I want a video. I want a videotape too.
See, is this where you don't do a bedside confession and a week later the Mormons baptize you?
Yeah. They would do that just to be dicks. They would.
Think if you believe this Christian concept of heaven, that it would actually be a pretty good place to go to, because theoretically, then, if all that what they say is true, you'd be able to fuck people nonstop if you wanted. That you could just go till your parts fall off.
I would love to.
Problem is that okay? So if I'm going to heaven, I'm going with a bunch of fuckers that I don't even like. If I go down to hell, I'm at least with people I enjoy. So which is more hellish? Heaven or hell?
If you go down to hell, you can
fuckers that
you
don't
can at
like.
least hang out with us lot if you're in hell.
And apparently it'd be a pool party.
I have this. Oh, that'd be one heck of a pool party. I always have this vision since I was a little kid when Bob Marley was like, you just go to heaven and you're just high staring at God. So I always have this vision of everybody just wasted staring at light. No, thank you. I want to be with the debaucherers and all the people that have good stories and the scars to prove it.
All right, here I got a proposal for you. Let's say again that heaven operates like the Bible says, or how it's interpreted in the Bible says. The stories that they make up, okay, and the rule is that if you take Jesus into your heart before you die, you get to go to heaven, right? Right? Instant absolute.
Yeah.
It's like registering to vote at the poll.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's say you go to heaven. And you find out that Ted Bundy accepted Jesus.
That's the argument I've made. That
you're gonna go hang out with the dude.
Yeah,
exactly.
By that interpretation, Hitler and serial killers are up there.
Pol Pot.
That's a pretty big people I think they got to deal with.
The other interpretation I have a problem with is, some of them have said, if you are without sin, and it's like, yeah, that's a bar no human being's ever going to make. Heaven's going to be deserted.
I have always called that unattainable perfection. Show me one person that hasn't trespassed, upon someone else. It's all interpretive.
Yeah, I think the other thing is that a lot of Christians have a hard time with babies because most Christians will hold to original sin, won't they? Which means would mean that a stillborn would go to hell.
Exactly. I've asked that question before.
Well, but the Catholics solve that by having baby purgatory, don't they?
The Catholics do, yeah. I mentioned that.
Actually, the Vatican II abolished purgatory, but they didn't actually explain what happened to the people who'd already been sent there.
Yes.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's like the Phantom Zone.
Recently.
I ended up having a conversation with my nana where we got to the point where I said, "Do stillborn babies go to heaven?" And she said yes. And I asked her if she believed in original sin, and she said yes. And I know she's had miscarriages and stuff, so I didn't want to be the one to point out that was inconsistent.
You know what? Like today, my mom was genuinely scared for my eternal soul, and she said, "May God bless you," like 9 times. And it annoys me. It really annoys me because I've asked her to stop a million times, but I just was kind of like, okay.
After the second or third, I'd have just turned around and gone, "Hail to the gods."
I used to say which god, but then my mom, like, my mom is a very independent version of the mom from The Big Bang Theory, the disembodied voice.
Oh no!
Wallowitz?
Yes.
Yeah, Wallowitz's mom.
So my
Oh, no.
that is my mother in a Catholic frame.
Oh my god!
Oh no!
Growing up, I knew plenty of Jewish mothers, and I could really, that was a real stereotype. There were people in my neighborhood who were like that.
Oh yeah, that's why, like, you know what though, I could. The one thing I like about my mom though is I could FaceTime her and be like, "How does this coat look?" And she'll tell me the truth. She'll be like, "You look like shit." But yeah, so she was genuinely worried for my soul, so it was strange. It was just, she always says God bless. She always, like, it creeps me out, but she always says God willing.
Okay, what was
God
there a
willing,
particular
don't
thing
rise.
today that she was concerned with your soul
Well,
for?
it's because that person that we knew passed.
Oh, okay.
And because I endorsed his atheism, it switched from, like, basically I didn't give her what she wanted. So when I dropped her off, she probably called my sister, because my sister is all, like, Black Baptist. So I was wondering where you were.
Hey, Jen.
Sorry, I was helping Rob do
Hey,
some
Jen.
stuff before I hopped in.
So it definitely she was definitely worried for my eternal soul. And so she called me back and was like, "Well, yeah, it grates on the ears, but I respect my mom." So I just
it was one of the things that used to annoy my family. Because they never acknowledged that I left the church. But still, anytime somebody said, like, "God bless you," I'd say, "Which one?" And they just quickly carry on with things, and nobody would ever acknowledge it.
I wish I could say things like that, but my mom's so damn sensitive. Everything hurts her feelings.
Oh, I'm gonna get in shit.
I like
one of
your
these
mum,
days.
though. Well, what I know of your mum, I like your mum.
No, she's a good person, but, like, we differ on the whole religion thing, and it truly bothers her because I was raised hardcore Catholic.
Yeah, it winds up being a strain. It really does. You can still absolutely adore a person, but if they're really deep into their religious stuff, it's so much ingrained in every little action and word, it gets to a point where it just gets hard, difficult to deal with.
And because I've moved on, I feel like it's a step in the wrong direction when we start talking about certain things because I'm so far removed from it.
Well, and I have to say that, aside from my eldest brother, none of my family is, like, really hardcore religious. So, stuff like that, they could just kind of let it go and not get into it.
My brother said, "Why would you say that word in front of your mother?" This was months ago. And my mom and I both looked at my brother. We said, "What?" And he was like, "You said atheism." That's
I was
awesome.
gonna say what
So-
word?
I like your new avatar, Pips. It looks awesome.
Yeah, Junie made that for me.
It's a very cute avatar.
Yep, it's
So-
very cute. I wish I could be that cute.
You will be.
Absolutely.
You know, if
He
I had
says he-
transitioned when I was about 20, I might, but
Whoa. So basically, I come from hardcore Catholics who are grown adults who probably still believe in purgatory.
I mean, purgatory is a more coherent view than what most evangelicals hold.
My brother is 14 years older than me, the one I'm thinking of. He was genuinely scared of 2012.
oh,
Really?
Yes.
so you actually do have a similar age spacing to me and my eldest brother.
I have another brother who is 61. He's a year older. He's going to be 61 this year. He's a year older than Godless Granny.
Yeah, well, I'm the youngest in my family, so there's 15 years between me and my oldest brother.
I'm the
You know,
youngest.
but with
as well.
9 of us all together, we're pretty much evenly spaced out, about a year and a half, 2 years each.
Oh wow. I'm the like, oops, we're in our 40s and having a kid.
Yeah, well, when my sister was born, the doctor said if my mom got pregnant again, it would kill her. So my dad had to prove him wrong. I actually heard that story when I was about 9 or 10 years old. So yeah, that's a great thing to grow up
Yeah.
with.
See, when my mum was told if you have another child it'll kill you, my stepdad got the snip.
My mom had my little sister and then said, nope, that's enough, kid.
Okay.
Which is very odd for a Mormon household to only have 2 children.
I was gonna say only 2.
Yeah, only 2. My little
So-
sister was born, and then my mom was like, nope, we're not having more. And
Yeah.
she would get shit at church, and she'd just give it right back. She's like, hi, none of you helped me babysit my child. What in the hell makes you think that I'm going to have another one that you're just going to ignore?
See, I did actually mean to ask you about that at some point because it was just like you've only mentioned one sister, but you're an Exmo.
Yes, my little sister was born with spina bifida, and and having a doctor look my parents straight in the face and say, we're not sure if this kid is going to live, kind of puts the damper on having more children.
Yeah,
Fair.
absolutely.
But honestly, my sister is kick ass. But like, one of the things that my mom had trouble with was actually getting babysitters. She was not able to find babysitters for us until I was 8.
No, I'm laughing at what Jeff said.
Yeah.
We've survived like since just the year 2000. We've survived a couple hundred end of the
Oh,
world.
apocalypse.
I was
Yeah.
not saying that, but I know the world has ended more than a dozen times in my
In-
lifetime.
In eight
Yeah,
in
I lost track how many already.
in 8808, Ron Parsley of good old TBN said that Jesus was going to come back on 8808 because infinity.
Of course, I've been
geez.
scaring people with the new conspiracy that the Mayan stone carver was dyslexic, and it wasn't 2012. It was supposed to be 2021.
See, but the thing about 2012, which is still going on right now, the planets aligned.
Now, fun little thing
Yeah.
between BCE and BC, there's actually an 8-year-ish gap, meaning that about 2020, 2021 would be where the Mayans actually predicted it at.
Yeah,
Now, of
but
course,
that's not
that means I was going to say that means fuck all, but that
But
is a
the Ma-
thing I found out.
But the
relatively
Mayans
recently.
didn't believe it was the end of the world, just the restart of the calendar.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So
They just
it was
they
never
just
about
believed
the
Yeah,
end of the
no.
world.
Yeah, right.
Oh
It
no, I
wasn't
know. I'm
as
just
if
pointing out that it's a funny coincidence.
They just assumed somebody else was going to carve another calendar, and it's like, yeah, it's not happening in my lifetime. We'll let the next guy do it.
Yeah, it was pretty
That
much.
sounds like a
I'm
dumb
done
problem.
with this shit. We're not doing this anymore. I'm done. I'm bored. Here's your fucking calendar. No more.
Yeah.
Somebody
If you
tell us to
motherfuckers
do it.
want more, that sounds like a you problem.
And as somebody who actually still uses a telescope, the planets are aligned and they're moving away in the other direction. It's awesome. And it's going to
So
take just as long for them to move away from each other. So I have years of being able to stare at Saturn and it's awesome. It's absolutely
But
awesome.
besides all these Christians who go about looking for what date the end of days is going to be, don't actually read their own fucking Bible, because the Bible
Yeah.
says no one will know the hour or the time or the day. So
And
you
I-
can't
Right.
know because your own Bible says you can't. So
But I
Yeah, so
always
that
bring-
I
automatically
should not
means
get
any
excited.
preacher who gives you a date is lying.
And I always bring this up. I always, because I said some stupid things to my dad, and my dad flat out told me that his grandma told him that in 1899 people thought the world was going to end just because it was the year 1900. And he was like, every time, because
we did the same thing for 2000.
that's why I asked him.
Yeah.
I was like, what do you think about this? And he's like, look, let me fucking tell you something. He's like,
Okay. See, Joseph Smith told people in one of his sermons that the people of that generation were going to be around for the return of Jesus. He didn't
Yeeper.
specify a date or time, but he did
It's
that.
always their generation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then Brigham Young did the same thing, and then when they started adding what they call patriarchal blessings, damn near everybody and their brother has it in their blessing. I know when I find my dad's, I'm going to see it because he swears up and down it's going to be alive for the coming of Jesus. That they put it in the patriarchal blessing that you are chosen for the latter days and that you're going to be around for it. And I'm like, dude, have none of y'all figured out that you've been doing this to every single generation in that church specifically since the founding?
That's what I don't get, why Christians haven't figured out that that for 2,000 years they've been told the world is going to end with the current generation.
Well, that's for the same reason they still think trickle down economics is working.
But that's what the church does, Jenny. It's funny you'd bring that up because they're like, if you do me a solid on earth, I'll do you a solid in heaven and in the next step, which is
believing the apocalypse is coming soon is a good way to keep your flock under control, because you've got to be extra good because it's going to end soon and you've got to be really good for that.
I have a question. When has there ever been peace?
Oh, never.
Before
peace.
I was going to say, not since humans have existed.
Actually, wait, no, because nature is red in tooth and claw, and there hadn't been peace either. We just didn't know it because we weren't around.
The whole rumors of wars. You can always point to somewhere on the earth that's going on.
It's always been chaotic.
Hey, hold on.
And if it wasn't humans, it was ants having wars. So, I mean...
What's that, Jenny?
1971, July 21st, from 3:30 p.m. Eastern till 6:30, there was peace.
Moon landing?
No, to me that just brings up a quote from Beast Wars Megatron that an enemy who appears to be peaceful may just be biding time while they reload.
I always tell that joke about I was there for that 1 week in the 90s when we had peace. But there was no peace in the 90s. See, but that's what I'm saying. You can always say the end of the world is coming. You can always say like, "Oh, it's scary times," because human beings are extremely predictable.
And yet despite all the negative things we hear about now with murders and gun violence and stuff like that, we live in one of the most peaceful times in history.
I think
Go figure.
I think
not to mention that in the last 500 years, the human life expectancy is better than doubled.
Exactly.
So my father basically died of the same thing his dad did, and he lived 20 years longer because of medical science. Probably 30 years longer.
Unless they say, like creationists will say that, well, Adam and Eve, lived for hundreds and hundreds of years, and then sin just made people live shorter and shorter lifespans.
And that's another question I have for... Go ahead, Jenny.
I just can't stay awake. I'm falling out here.
Oh, okay.
Well,
Well, you get some good sleep.
I
Great
will.
seeing.
Night, Jen.
Thanks for coming in.
absolutely.
Okay.
Thank you for coming.
That's another question I've had about, the newer creationists, that the date of 6,000 years is based on somebody counting, the number of begots in the Bible, how many generations it's been. But what was he counting for a generation? Because some of these people, the Bible says, live to be 100 or 300 years.
Okay, so I have a theory on
if
that.
he's just multiplying the number of generations by 20 years, which is how much a generation is now, and not taking that into account, even by their own screwed up method, this could be, a couple 100,000 years at least, instead of just 6,000 years.
No,
Yeah.
absolutely. I think they were bad at math, and what happens was the average person was living to be like 30. So if you lived to be gray-haired, you appeared to be 200 years old.
Well,
I
I grew up in a Jewish community. So, 4 out of 5 people I discussed the Bible with had read it in Hebrew. And one blanket rule that I came away from that with is anywhere you find a literal number in the Bible, it's a bad translation. Because in the Torah, there were virtually no numbers. There were just, vague phrases. And even like the word for days in Genesis was
Doesn't actually
just
mean
an
days.
unspecified period of time. Something like eon could fit as well as a day.
So recently, I actually got exactly what you said. I learned that from Maddie when she was talking to Richard Madsen. I was taking notes.
That's quite a fun one, and another one that, and a lot of people don't seem to like this when you bring it up, is that maybe the reason that people in the Bible lived so long is that they in fact didn't, and what they're saying is a number of years, in fact, is not a number of years.
I agree. Because a lot of it was backstory and fabricated in the first place.
I mean, even if I grant that it's true, it's perfectly possible to say that they meant that many seasons.
Hold on, I'm trying to remember the order, but what we consider like the tribe of Judah, they were under the thumb of the Assyrians, or first it was the Babylonians, then the Assyrians, and then the Romans. So most of their stories were written in captivity.
Well, also, early agricultural societies tended to use lunar calendars.
Mm-hmm.
So what they were referring to may not have been years; it may have been moon phases.
Okay.
It may have been that the person was alive for that many full moons.
Then that means I'm like 345 years old.
Yeah, well, and that's how you get people being 300 years old.
Yeah, and that is, I quite like that translation until you get to the people being about 100 years old, and people being 100 moons old and having a dozen kids, the math stops working.
Yeah, exactly. That's weird.
There was never really an established calendar system when creation was made anyways. I'm just pointing it out.
Yeah, and that is a lot of it. It's trying to fit our current calendar, to things that were written down before calendars really existed.
No, and the Hebrew calendar, when it did exist, was really different from what we have.
Yeah,
I'm looking in my Haley's Comet book because it guesses what day they think Jesus was born in. It was like in the 4th or 5th century or something, like way off from when never mind. I missed.
Well, they didn't know. I mean, they did. All the books were written years after any of it happened, anyway. So.
Exactly. So they were basically saying like it's impossible by any calendar standard.
Yeah.
Say Haley's Comet was.
It'd be like somebody now. The number of years after it would be like somebody now who wasn't alive at the time writing a book about the Probably not the second. Well, no, the Second World War's about right.
I had gone First World War because it was about 100 years. Though the
no,
the prior
first,
sources,
they what was it? Matthew was Mark was first, wasn't it?
I'm not. It was. I think it was either Mark.
It was either
or
Matthew
John.
or Mark. No, John was the last book written. It was either Matthew or Mark. And no, so because Luke and Matthew are more or less the same, aren't they? So you've got I think Mark was written first, but I don't quote me. I can never remember them. I always get the M's mixed up.
But as far as them trying to figure out when Jesus was born, based on them trying to figure out which king it was that they were referring to, the estimates I've heard was that it was somewhere between 8 and 14. Somewhere.
But your problem with that is that those books weren't written till 70 years after so-called events. And that's
right.
about
so they were still handed down word of mouth for 2 or 3 generations before they got written down.
You're talking shorter, less lived people. So generations, there would have been 3 generations easily, word of mouth. Yeah. I mean, there was some stuff written down, but this was before it was properly collated.
So I have done a Google, and it says that scholars date Mark to around 70 AD.
Yeah, so about 70 years. Approximately 70 years. So about the same length of time. So this would be like you, Sam, writing a history of World War II with only without having any books to refer to, only small snippets of writing and word of mouth.
Oh, that's awful.
Yeah, that's how bad awful. It is.
Oh, that's awful.
So yeah.
Oh yeah, it's not a great method of communication.
No, and this is your problem. I mean, it's not unusual just to the Bible. There are a lot of historical documents that are like that were not written at the time things that happened. And we also know that they weren't looking at previously written texts. So the reliability, I'm not saying we can't say that the word of mouth over that period of time doesn't mean those things didn't happen, because word of mouth of the Second World War would have been enough for us to know that it happened.
Yeah.
So for them, they would have known maybe something happened, but the details are just not going to be there.
Yeah. Well, I tend to view Jesus in the same category as like Robin Hood and King Arthur, that it was probably a lot of legends about actually different people, but when they got around to writing them all down, they decided it made a better story if they said it was all the same guy.
Absolutely. And I always ask this question, does it really matter? Because none of the prophecies were ever fulfilled. So does it really matter?
Only to the people who want to prove the Bible's a historical document.
Yeah, but like, I hate to get like all, God smasher, but I wouldn't want my God to be all weak. I need a little,
like,
so if my God made a prophecy, you at least have to come through and actually do it.
What gets me is like, he's supposed to be named Emmanuel, but ended up being Yeshua. Or whatever. Jesus.
Yeah.
So, Junie, are you blinking?
Yeah, I was wondering that.
Yeah, okay, you are.
Junie's avatar does a
I'm
few
just
things.
making sure I'm not crazy. That's all. Okay, continue. Sorry. That's why you're going to look back at this. You're going to see me like going in.
And the mouth opens. Oh, that's so cool.
That's awesome.
Does your avatar watch your camera, Junie?
Oh, no, I have to manually do it. I'm still working to, rigging. One person's trying to rig this specific avatar, and I'm trying to do my other avatar that I had on earlier. And then as soon as I master it, then I'll be able to rig one other person's, and then hopefully get to Purple's avatar.
Are you going to do it so you can move your hands as well, so that you can lift a hand up or do an action?
Yeah, right. That'll be a challenge.
Yeah, from what I heard from Cirrus, that the rigging actually takes quite a lot of time. It's a pretty intensive process.
That's why I asked, because I'm impressed.
Oh yeah, it's
Hi, Sarah.
It is a process, and then like I just realized that the ones that we have are big files. So if I don't have the paid version, I won't be able to get the textures in, so the free version is pretty limited.
How much is the paid version?
I have no idea. I'm scared to look.
Isn't there a freeware set of rigging tools though that you can use?
Oh yeah, like the one I'm currently using is free, but it's pretty limited to like I guess the size of the.
No, I mean, what isn't there one that's completely free and got a full function?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's
there's
what I thought,
two
'cause
so
there's
far.
a plugin for OBS for doing rigging.
Oh yeah, haven't gotten to play with it yet, but hopefully soon.
And to answer what Jeff said about Jesus was nailed to a cross, Thor has a hammer. Just saying. I've been watching a lot of Stargate, so I'm all up on the "Your God is weak" Shova. I've been watching way too much Stargate lately.
Oh, I got an
Yeah.
email today that said that MGM has finally approved the book for the Stargate RPG for D&D 5e, and I'm
Oh.
sitting here like, fucking give it to me. You
Oh,
promised
yeah,
it
that's
to
gonna
me
be
3 months
popular.
ago.
You took your sweet fucking time, didn't you?
That's going to be popular campaigns. Which god do you want to kill this week?
Exactly. You know, I obsessively talk about
Nice.
Stargate, but when I was younger, it was powerful to think. It just helped me think a little bit further. Like maybe God's a parasite and I don't have to worship it. You know, so Stargate's awesome.
Yeah, I don't
Stargate's
know how
awesome.
went whoosh over my parents' head that it was basically kind of questioning God beliefs, because basically every time they came across a new god, it was just another Goa'uld.
Exactly. In my house, though, it was because MacGyver. So my parents were like, "Hey, this is MacGyver. You can watch whatever you want. You know, it's MacGyver."
What? That might have been my mom's reasoning too, because she loved the hell out of MacGyver.
Exactly. And MacGyver was like 80s wholesome, where there was a problem, MacGyver solved it, saved the world within an hour.
Okay,
Yeah.
and Stargate brings up another big question I've been asking a lot, is how is it that they can discover an advanced alien culture and find some artifact and figure it out and wire its power into their own ship in 20 minutes? But have you ever tried to put a Ford part on a Chevy?
Yeah, you need a torch. You need a torch and like 50 years of experience. No, I agree.
Yeah, you'd need someone like Jenny for that.
See, but that's why they had MacGyver.
Yeah.
No. See, he didn't MacGyver in that. He was just like, nah, there's a problem. Let's blow it up.
They only, you know what's really funny? They only mentioned it, I think, in the
in the pilot.
Yes. And
she made a joke about it.
The one thing I love about Stargate is that Jack O'Neill is constantly saying that The Simpsons is his favorite show. And throughout the years, and in the later seasons as well, a lot of the characters from The Simpsons were in Stargate.
That shouldn't be so funny to me, but it is.
I didn't watch The Simpsons that much, so I didn't notice those.
If you look up the episode season 8, I am such a savant geek. It's called Average Joe. I don't want to give it away, but the second you hear the person's voice, they do like 4 or 5 characters in The Simpsons. The second you see him, you'll probably know who they are.
Another show that was great for that was Disney's animated series Gargoyles.
Oh yeah, I love Gargoyles.
Because they got Jonathan Frakes to do the main villain for the first season.
Oh, I gotta look that up now.
And then it was like every time they wanted to bring a new character in, you know, he brought in somebody from the Star Trek cast. So they had Maria Sirtis, and they had, you know, basically all of the main bridge crew showed up in there at some point.
Oh, Keith David. Oh, they did have Marina Sturz in there. Oh, wow.
I really
Michael
enjoyed
Dorn.
how Sanctuary honestly made a good try at trying to get Highlander fans.
Holy cow, they did have the. Sorry, Tria.
because they actually brought in Peter Wingfield, who played Mythos, and they brought in the guy who played Joe Dawson, and had them as like recurring characters. And I was like, y'all are trying to bring in the Highlander fans. I know exactly what you're doing.
I see you, motherfuckers.
So season 8 of Stargate was pretty hokey, and I'm a Stargate fanatic. Okay, so they were on a huge break, and season 9 started off with Ben Broder and Claudia Black, and that brought me back to watching Stargate because Farscape was over.
Yeah.
So sometimes it'll So Purple, you are not joking. There was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 people from Star Trek. 8. Actually 9 if you count Alan Cummings, because he was in quite a few episodes that were in Gargoyles.
Yeah, and Brent Spiner playing Puck was just, he really nailed the character for that.
That's great. You know what's I watched that because I was a stoner. Shocker back then. And so
back then.
I never knew it was that those, I knew Jonathan Frakes was the character, but that's so funny. And Michael Dorn is in a lot of things too. Quite a few documentaries that Michael Dorn is voiced over, which is Worf, the greatest Avenger of all time. Jen got that.
Yeah.
I see that tree. I watched because I was a kid. Yeah, actually, at one point, I had recorded the entire series on VHS off of cable.
Yeah, Disney was the only channel that basically was pretty much allowed on. There were a couple of exceptions for some Nickelodeon shows, but pretty much that was the only thing available, with the exception of my dad sneaking in X-Men on Saturday mornings when he wasn't on cruise.
X-Men was awesome. It was such an awesome.
It was, but looking back and looking at how queer-coded it is,
that might have, yeah.
Yeah, like, I'm surprised that got snuck in, especially by my dad.
But it goes back to the whole MacGyver thing.
I'm going to head out. I'm a bit sore. I'm not really with it. Congratulations, Purple. I really wanted to be here because
thanks for dropping in. Yeah, I know
so
you've been going through quite a lot.
Yeah, no, I'd be all right for this stream if I hadn't whacked my head last night and got a mild concussion.
Yeah,
be careful and stop doing that.
Yeah, it really hurt. Congratulations again, Perps. You are amazing, and we all love you very much. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
And while we have a bit of a lull, and I will just mention another thing in our community. Amanda, Pale Blue Mama, has a fundraiser up to help her move because she is stuck in a rather abusive situation with her son. So I'm going to drop a link, and anybody who could afford to, send $10 or $20 to help her get out of there.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay.
I didn't hear about it until now, so thanks for letting me know.
Yeah, actually, I just saw it on Twitter today, so I was kind of surprised I hadn't heard about it sooner.
Mm-hmm.
So she's got a goal of 3,000 pounds, and last I looked, it was at 800 something. So they've got quite a way to go.
Yeah, I see.
We now return you to your regularly scheduled program.
Oh, I was trying to find the link. I'm going to save that so that I can share it around.
So when I bought this
what
chair,
about Ren and Stimpy?
Ren and Stimpy.
Oh,
was,
see, Neil brought that up knowing full and well that I still don't know what that show is.
Don't
I've
feel
never watched
bad
it.
because I wasn't allowed to watch it. So
Okay, I've always said that SpongeBob SquarePants is what you get when you drowned Ren.
So neither was I Tria, but like I'm from the generation where we would tape it on the VCR and then
Yeah.
wait for my mom to go to work.
Yeah,
my
honestly,
mom,
Ren and Stimpy or SpongeBob, either one of them I could never take.
my mom was home 24/7. Remember how I said she couldn't even find a babysitter till I was 8?
Oh yeah.
She could hear you change the channel no matter where she was in the house because that lady had like super sensitive hearing. And if I changed the channel for even a second, she would race from wherever she was in the church, snatch the remote from me while it was still in my hand, and be like, no, and turn it back.
I'm kind of like that too. Where I have bionic hearing, and whenever my son will he'll do something or like play with his BB gun, I'll walk in the house and he's like, I only fired it once.
See,
I can hear
You
it.
know,
my
what
mum
tre-
has super selective super hearing because sometimes she can hear through 3 stone walls to hear that that me or my little sister muttered at each other to fuck off. But if my little brother stabbed someone and we screamed, she wouldn't hear that.
yeah,
That's
what Tria was saying about changing the channel in the remote. This is an old one back before TVs had remotes, but what almost got the Bullwinkle show canceled, or not the Bullwinkle
Rocky and
show.
Bullwinkle?
Rocky and Bullwinkle, originally when they were playing it, they had insets with puppets. And in one of the shows, Bullwinkle was saying, make sure you stay tuned to this channel for next week. In fact, those knobs, those suckers come right off and no one could change the channel. And apparently a bunch of little kids did that. And the show almost got canceled for it.
Oh.
Okay,
Supposed
so
to be enough to cancel the show.
So funny story. When I was given a Game Boy when I was like 8-ish or 9-ish or something like that, and my mom finally got tired of like giving me batteries every single day because I'd play it that often. And so what I finally wound up doing was I would wait until the batteries were almost dead in my Game Boy, and then switch them out of the remote control.
Oh.
My parents kept wondering why the remote controls were always dying. They never figured it out.
Battery, then.
Yep.
I did this for years until finally I got too busy to play Game Boy as much. But yeah, I finally fessed up to my dad a while back, and I was like, hey, do you remember why you had so much trouble with the remote controls? He was like, yeah, we just figured that they were manufactured badly or the batteries were pretty bad. And I said, no, that wasn't the thing. I was switching out the batteries. I would wait until mom was doing something in the kitchen, go into the living room and pop the batteries out and switch them.
Well, at least it wasn't the AAA batteries, right?
Yeah, well,
everything ran on AA's through the 80s. AAA's were so rare.
If you get a bunch of AA's and sit them in a circle, is that an AA meeting?
The best modern parenting tip I have come across, is grounding kids to their room doesn't work because they've got all their stuff in there.
Mm-hmm.
So take away all their charging cords and just watch them panic as everything starts to run down.
That's the kind of shit I would do, especially being a gamer.
And make them earn it back. It's like, okay, you want your phone charger back? Yeah, here's a couple of chores you have to do.
My mum tried to do that with me. I was just like, I'll just put my phone on low power mode and read, and then at 3 a.m. sneak downstairs and charge my phone. I don't sleep anyway.
That's the
Sleep,
kind of
what
stuff
is
I
the
used to
sleep?
do as a kid. That I would go out the second-story bedroom window and climb down the tree in the backyard, and that's how I managed to go weeks at a time without ever seeing my father.
What?
Andy. I could never go more than a few days without seeing my mum, and that would be because I was at my dad's house. But my mum insisted that we all had to sit around the dinner table to eat in an evening. So
Sometimes that can be an okay thing.
oh yes, it absolutely can. It just meant that I ended up seeing a lot of my mum, and I ended up frequently being asked to say grace before we ate as a pagan.
Oh,
that's the worst.
Well, in the era that I grew up, everybody still sat around the dinner table, but there were so many people in our house that based on the size of the dinner table, we ate in 3 shifts.
That's right. See, my mum just got a big dinner table that we could fit 12 people around.
see, the thing is that right now, if like I were to be told, hey, we're gonna start like eating dinner together, I would kind of freak out because I'm like, I'm around all of you all the time now. Like, it would be understandable if I had more activities outside of the house, but I'm around you all the time now. Please don't. We need a break.
Doorknob head, I have a cup problem where I don't like getting up, so I don't mess around when it comes to mugs and jugs.
Oh, hi, Jeff. Now, see, Jeff,
yeah.
I think Jeff can probably agree with me.
Hey,
here.
Jeff.
The proper mug size, if you can't be asked getting up, is a Sports Direct mug.
Yeah, that's about right. Yeah.
This isn't old.
Yeah,
I used
right
to
there.
have parties. This is a real well, I'm like tapping it like you can hear it. It's a real glass pitcher. Not the old plastic ones like they have it at the bars now. This is a real classic old school glass pitcher.
Okay, we got an interesting string going in the side chat. What food would you eat straight out of the can without heating it up?
Spam, sardines. You don't want to see me the apocalypse. I'll eat chili out of the can.
I would have just gone with like canned peaches or something.
Yeah, same here. Just canned fruit.
Well, yeah, but something you're supposed to heat up.
Oh,
In which case, tomato soup.
SpaghettiOs.
Vienna.
Oh, okay. That's what Will was responding to. I'm a bit behind on the chat.
I have cup issues. I have hardcore cup issues. I'm not here.
I have bottle issues. I collect cool looking bottles. Oh, and the reason this presents me problems is then I will see things like I was browsing the internet yesterday, and I found a whiskey bottle or a brandy bottle or something, and it was shaped like a sword. And I want it now.
That's like I found a tequila bottle that was shaped like a gun and one that was shaped like a cowboy hat, and I kept both of them.
Now, see, I keep the stuff that's got practical value. I'm not that artistic. I like these iced tea bottles because they're square, which means that they are space efficient in the fridge. They don't waste any room.
This is reasonable. I keep bottles like this, and when this one's empty, I'll be keeping this too, because which?
Oh yeah,
so,
there's some interesting ones out there, especially when you get into some of the liquor bottles.
I think the thing is that being into witchcraft, any given bottle has a practical purpose.
Yep. I do have to say I have a case full of vodka bottles that are from when I was with my fiance. That was the stuff that when we got drunk together sitting home. So I have a full case of those, and I've been planning to build a chandelier out of them.
Awesome.
Because that's just kind of like, all of our good memories there of just the two of us, just, laying back together and just letting everything go.
That's sweet.
See, I got distracted for a second there because I opened up Twitter and the first thing I saw was Russ responding to some tweet with, "But do you have a corkscrewed penis?" And it's like, damn it, Russ.
Russ is starting back fast on the stuff, isn't he?
What was that, Tria?
Russ is starting back fast on his stuff. He's already told somebody to get off the cross. We need the wood.
Oh yeah, I think Russ is going back in full force soon. Though he tried to a while back and then just ended up not doing any of the YouTube stuff as well.
Yeah.
I'm going to be around a bunch of evangelicals tomorrow, so I need to hear some of this.
Yeah,
If you aren't following, listen. If you aren't following Frustrated Atheist, you're missing shenanigans.
I
Yeah,
do
follow
follow
Frustrated
him.
Atheist on Twitter.
I do follow him, but I just, I don't spend the time to keep up with the public stuff on Twitter.
I was about to say,
So
I
it's
have
like
to
I've only
look.
seen a few scattered fragments and not enough of it to figure out what's really going on.
Fair. Oh dear. Purple, I still blame you for the premiere on Wednesday.
Sorry, what's that again?
I still blame you for my premiere on Wednesday. When Shannon showed up in the chat.
Oh.
Because I tried to have a quick look around, and you were the only person besides me who shared it out. So.
Well, like I say, I was envious. She's never come into my chat.
So, you're getting. I told you so. You're getting like the big names are starting to take note of you now. So
that's awesome.
It's really bizarre to me, but hey ho.
You are going to leave us all in the dust before long. You do know this, right?
Yep.
Yeah, especially considering that I haven't done YouTube in like 8 months now.
Well, to be fair, when I started my channel, my model for this was cosmological, because at the time I started, he'd only put out 2 videos in the previous year, so I thought this was somebody I might be able to catch up with.
No, I actually had a friend offer to do my editing for me, so I might actually start doing videos again in the not too distant future.
That's
so perhaps you started then pretty much exactly a year after I started on doing this, because yesterday marked 4 years for me. So,
well, weirdly, I've also discovered there seemed to have been, kind of some kind of cluster of us who all started about the same time, that same spring.
It's so weird to me because I think that's when I found the atheist community then. Has it really been that long?
Yeah, but if you go through, you'll find there really seem to be like dozens of channels that started, within a month or two of when I did.
See, I only found the atheist YouTube community probably mid 2019, and I found the Pagan online community, or the one I'm in particularly, at around early 2020. Because I bumped into Open through Cirrus.
Same in a way. Same. I weirdly found the atheist community. I used to watch a BBC show called The Big Questions with good old Nikki Campbell, and they would always talk about religion. And then one day I heard Kate Smurthwaite say, "I'm an atheist," and I was like, "Hold on, there's other people that are atheists?" So of course I typed it into YouTube, and I weirdly found the community.
Yeah, I found the community, I want to say maybe a couple of years back. But the first what got me through the YouTube channels was I don't know if anybody's too familiar with Thunderfoot.
Yep.
I am
I know
familiar
Thunderfoot,
with
yeah.
Thunderfoot.
Yeah, I watch him.
Yeah, and that so I started watching some of his stuff, and it led me to Vice Rhino, and then I just streamed through there.
Yeah, well, I actually started out with Bionic Dance because it never would have occurred to me to look for atheist on YouTube. I was looking for 80s animation. But then because I started watching Bionic Dance, then it started suggesting Paulogia and Vice Rhino and Professor Stick. And you know how YouTube works. Once you start clicking on those, it just snowballs.
I started watching. Oh gosh, what's his name? I don't watch him anymore because he no longer does videos. But I was watching somebody debunk Mormonism, an ex-Mormon debunking Mormonism, which went to Mr. Atheist, which led me to everybody else.
See, I guess for me is I started watch. I think I stumbled across a debate on YouTube. I started watching a few. I think it was the first one I watched. It was Matt Dillahunty inside 10. Was my and I watched that and I started so obviously Dillahunty starting the atheist experience starts coming up and then
Exactly.
obviously Seth Andrews starts appearing quite regularly, then Aaron Ra, that sort of way.
I used to watch a lot of the genetically modified skeptic and Aaron Ra. That was like the first two that I would just binge watch over and over.
When I found Aaron Ra's, his ARC series and his classification thing, I'm missing the word there.
And I haven't watched him in quite a long time now, but Rationality Rules as well wasn't one of the early ones. I haven't watched him in a long time now.
I occasionally watch one of Rationality Rules videos when the YouTube algorithm decides it and I'm playing stuff in the background.
Yeah.
Yeah, I still watch Rationality Rules now and then. Actually, I even got his game. Unfortunately, I haven't found anybody who's willing to play it with me, so I've never unboxed it.
But I was going to say, I'd be more than happy to play it if we're ever in the same space.
Actually, no, tell a lie. I did watch one of his videos the other day, and then again because it appeared on my algorithm which I was a little surprised to see him throw his hat in the ring of the whole Dawkins thing.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, given how you've screwed up before, Stephen,
Richard Dawkins has left the building. He has lost his damn mind.
Actually, an even stranger note on the games. That in a convention I was at 2019, I learned to play the game Pandemic. So I bought that. Yeah, a year ago I bought the game Pandemic. But of course, since then, having an actual pandemic has prevented me from ever having enough people in one room to play it.
Oh no!
Yeah, no. Pandemic does require a few players.
Yeah, it plays best with 5 or 6 people.
Yeah, but on the other token, I wouldn't have been able to play as many tabletops as I do because everybody moved online, and so I've been playing tabletop non-stop for like 8 months now, and it's great.
Okay, now see, I really haven't. I haven't found anyone, and I don't know even what kind of stuff I have to be running on my computer to make that work.
Yeah, but you've also told me that you prefer in person, so I didn't press it because it was like, okay, you prefer in person. Totally get that. And so I backed off.
Yeah, that was about the only way that I actually can socialize. If there is something in between us that is the focus, so people don't focus too much on me.
That's fair, but yeah, I don't mind breaking people in. I actually have a few systems that are easy to break into, but it's.
Yeah, do you
okay, where's our quote miner for that?
Do you ever introduce people with B5 Trip?
No, I'm actually going to be introducing people with the Greek lit game that I found, because it's a hell of a lot easier. Character creation takes like 10 minutes, and basically you don't really have to remember anything except for like 5 or 6 rules, and it's all based on like adding 2 dice together. It's so much simpler. It's a hell of a lot simpler.
Which system is that?
Agon.
Okay. Yeah, that's I gave up on D&D when it wound up looking, the rule book wound up looking like a 7 encyclopedias.
Yeah, it's like 5e is popular for a reason. It is technically easy for people to get into. It's easy to homebrew. But the two systems that I like breaking people in for now are Agon and Lady Blackbird, because they're so much damn simpler.
Yeah. I went to using Tunnels and Trolls just because it was an easy system to run.
What was that, Tim?
I said Lady Blackbird is incredibly easy to run and very fun.
Oh yeah, there's like 0 DM prep, and it's basically like, okay, you got to justify your rolls, but as long as you make a good argument, you can pretty much do whatever the fuck you want. And it's basically just you and the DM deciding where everything goes. There isn't that whole spell slot, like everybody has to do stuff within a certain amount of time. Like,
you don't
all
have
of
to worry
that's out the
about
window.
like opportunity attacks and all that bullshit. Don't have to worry about it.
Yeah. Agon is made by the same people. It's just a little bit more complicated and more of a campaign style versus like one shot.
Fair. Now, see, something that I really like, but I would never introduce new players to, I don't think, is Blades in the Dark.
I'm looking at that and going, yeah, no.
Because like I love Blades in the Dark, but it requires you to have a basic running knowledge of the others. And I apologize, I've just realized we're probably talking over other people's heads a little bit.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't think we've got a whole lot of people here who are big in the
No,
role-playing,
and we can go back to other subjects. I'm sorry,
Sorry, me and Tria can nerd out about that elsewhere later.
Yeah, it's okay. Yeah, but let's just get it back to something that more people will participate in.
Yeah, no problem.
Well, we can talk about sports. That'll alienate
everybody.
No.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Fuck the sport ball.
It'll just be you and Jeff then.
Yeah, exactly. No, I'm kidding.
Fuck the sport ball, especially from where I'm at now.
Well, if you want to hear something really burst into uncontrolled swing,
what? That was 2 separate sentences, I think, rolled into one.
Oh, I think.
Yeah. Jenny can watch us. She just can't be in here with us because we're too boring.
I think Disney. I think Disney officially bought out the TV rights to the Los Angeles Kings.
Is there anything Disney hasn't? Is there anything Disney hasn't bought?
The Mormons.
2 seasons ago, the season before, at the end of the 2018-2019 season, they put a warning. They put a warning, said if you do not want Disney to own the Kings, you need to send an email to this person, beg this person, and it's 2 years later, and it's happened. So they warned us that this was going to happen. And it's happened.
Just like, hey, we told you, nerds.
Yeah. So Disney owns everything.
I thought that, do they not still own the Ducks then?
They do. And that's why I thought it was a conflict of interest.
Yeah, because I was going to say, because they started that entire franchise based off that kids movie.
They've actually won a cup. They have legitimacy on the other side of town, but they were part of a different ownership group. But when LA's a crazy place. You can stand on Sunset Boulevard and to the left, the Church of Scientology owns everything. And then to the right, Disney owns everything.
See, it's the fact that Scientology actually exists in any way en masse still baffles me.
They have a massive foothold in the city of Los Angeles. They own. They have say. Their big blue building is in the middle of Hollywood.
Okay, as far as the sports bowl, that reminded me that anyone who hasn't seen it, Bionic Dance is a preview of the animation project she's been working on, so I put that in the side chat.
Awesome.
I was going to say, I mean, Scientology. I mean, it's not, nor has it ever been a religion with a really huge amount of members. It's just that they were obviously were very good about recruiting members with quite a bit of cash.
Exactly.
And they've got then they're always given but Scientology, the amount of what real estate they own is insane.
Yeah, well, I thought that there'd be more Scientologists than Mormons over there.
They own.
Oh, no chance. I mean, I think probably around the world, around globally, right? Scientology may have about 50,000 members. I've even heard some figures that they've dropped under 20,000. I mean, that's just the entire religion.
Mm-hmm.
So at most they've got about 50,000. They've never had the millions that they've claimed. It's just obviously what they have done is attract a number of high-profile members over the years. And
also, they pay people. Imagine right now if you could go sign up and give your entire life away to fill in the religion. Right now, you could walk into the blue building on a business day, take the test, sign a either 2-year or 4-year contract, and they officially own you. You give them the right to attorney. You give them immediately. You know,
you have to pay to get in.
No, but they pay you like
they do like this. I'm trying to remember how they do this. They have this
pocket money.
They have this sort of like personality test thing that there's like a couple of little freebie type things that they'll offer you to get your foot in the door kind of thing. But the thing with them is they're really not actively. This is why they're partially because a lot of the crap that's come out about them, but also the fact that they had not for a long time now actively been seeking converts. Really, that really Miscavige is milking as much out of the members as he's got left as possible. It doesn't seem like they're really actively trying. And I think this was the difference between Miscavige and Hubbard. Hubbard was genuinely trying to spread this thing around the world. I mean, I'm not saying he's any less of a crook than Miscavige because he wasn't, but
Scientology was literally started by a science fiction author on a bet that Hubbard, Arthur C. Clarke, and Robert Heinlein had a bet about who could start a church and get the most members. And Heinlein started the Church of All Worlds, which still has chapters in many cities. I forget what was the one that Clarke started, and then of course we have Scientology. And that's why he was trying to spread it, because his original goal was just to get the most members.
Well, I mean, the thing is, I've heard the stories about that bet. I don't know how historically accurate that is. He definitely at one point did utter the phrase, "You might want to make money, start a religion." But you got to remember what he started doing initially was selling Dianetics, which was more of a self-help kind of thing.
Dianetics is actually a good book. If you read it,
it's not. It
is.
It's awful.
Yeah, but it's common sense things. It's really common sense things. Like, I read it when I was like 9 or 10, and it just says like, if you don't understand a word, look it up. You can glean anything. You can glean anything from
Grant Farmer is right about this. The the Scientology building in St. Paul, Minnesota, was the former science museum before they built the larger building.
I also have their book of laws, and that book is terrible. Where is it?
See, I think the thing with their self-help book is that you could probably make it half as big and contain more information.
Yeah.
L. Ron Hubbard wrote
the
a
thing
second
is,
book about crime and justice, and it was awful.
The thing is, Hubbard very briefly lost the rights to Dianetics. So he kind of repackaged it as Scientology, and very much tried the religion angle, obviously for tax purposes and so on. But I mean, and the thing was, because in Dianetics there's this whole thing that you're supposed to be able to go back, like trace all your memories back to when you were in the womb, kind of nonsense. So
you always have to glean out
what
the
happened.
weird
But what got weirder is when Hubbard went into the whole, started Scientology. All of a sudden, the whole thing of past lives kind of came into the equation.
And also in the 90s, they quite literally, that commercial was on every other commercial. They had such promotion in America, it wasn't even funny.
I remember seeing that dozens of times an evening.
The volcano.
I think the irony is the one place you will see Scientology commercials now is on YouTube on the Critics channel. They will take out ads on.
You know who also does that is young Earth creationists and Muslims as well.
Well, that's the YouTube bots again, because the people paying for the ads don't choose which channels they're going to be on.
It's
the bots
always
just match up keywords in the tags.
I get a lot of Christian propaganda on atheist channels, though.
Yep.
They do purposefully target
I've
atheist content.
that blocks most of it, but what I see most commonly is seeing PragerU commercials in front of Vice Rhino videos.
Oh, yes. Yes.
It is actually targeted, especially for specific things. I know the ex-Mormon Church dropped a few dollars on making sure that their ads show up on ex-Mormon content. I mean, if you drop that much money, come on.
And Neil too.
The general deal is that they can't target specific people, but they can target specific demographics.
Exactly.
The one might be. I can't remember what it was. There was always some Christian group that always used to advertise on the Utah Outcasts channel, which is like, which is really kind of weird.
And I'm not trying to raise any red flags, but William Lane Craig, he's all up on everybody's channels. So if you watch something, because I fall asleep to stuff, and I'll wake up and I'm like, what the heck was I watching? Why do I have some weird commercial? And it's someone in the community, but
I dread to think what the adverts would be like if Daft Dawkins had the budget to put ads out on YouTube.
Abby Shapiro as well.
Presuppositionless.
Okay, I just want to say, if you're watching YouTube on a computer, I've got Chrome with Ad Blocker Plus, and I only see commercials like once or twice a week for all the time I watch. It gets almost all of them.
I need to get on that. I see every commercial. They make you wait too, at least 5 seconds. And if you don't pay attention, the first ad, they make you watch the second one.
For me, it's either like Pure Flakes or it's either something religious or it has to be something like the pyramid scheme stuff. Like, oh, you want to make this much money? Go watch this video, and you won't regret you'll change your life forever.
The multi-level marketing scams and stuff is another one, isn't it?
Whenever I see those guys wolfing, I'm like, the sad thing is, though, they wouldn't be there if people weren't buying into their crap.
Yeah.
That's the sad thing. They wouldn't exist if people weren't buying into their pyramid schemes. As someone who talks fast, when someone's like, hey, you need to come and do this and this and this and this, they're lying. And they want to they're doing the Ben Shapiro where they're talking so fast, they're just hoping to confuse the hell out of you.
It ticks me off. Is like, you want us to know, why can't you just say it on the ad itself? It was like, no, we gotta sign up and watch this other video and it'll change our lives. It's like, why can't you just say it in this commercial then? What's the secret?
Oh,
Thank you.
I get a lot of Gaia videos and a lot of videos from a Christian group trying to spread Christianity in Israel.
I watch this. I watch this guy named Bobby Hemmett, where it's like, well, man, he spans a long time, but he's like 90s Black Pride, old school. It's a throwback, but he talks about woo woo and everything. Vampires. I mean, he talks about everything, but they're constantly trying to sell me that Gaia crud.
Okay, somebody has to enlighten me, I guess. What is woo?
Well, I think Jenny does have a point here that the channels you're watching do get something additional for you watching the commercials, that they track that viewing time.
Oh, really?
True. See, I once got an ad
for commercials that aren't monetized. It's not going to make a difference, but for some of them, it might.
True. So, Junie, you asked about
what is woo?
Generally speaking, it pretty much just refers to pseudoscience.
Oh,
yeah.
It can. I have seen it used to refer to religious belief generally by anti-theists, and used to refer occasionally to historical revisionism, but it does tend to be treated as a separate
It's
thing.
generally in the context of people saying that something spiritual will heal you physically, without there being any scientific evidence to support the claims.
Very hand wavy. Very hand-wavy.
Anything like homeopathy, Reiki, anything along those sort of lines.
When I was a pagan, I was very big into the crystal healing, except I experimented with it, couldn't get consistent results, so that was the end of that.
Anything that needs a medium, anything that I'll tell you, I take it even more extreme. If you say something and you're like, oh, that's a blah, blah, blah question, and you didn't look it up yourself, I consider that woo-woo because you're praying to that person.
Yeah, but
I consider a lot of, I think non-self-reliant people
that
live
reminds me of the botanicus.
Everybody's talking at once.
So I am of the opinion, as someone who does tarot readings, that most people who do paid tarot readings are bullshit.
Well, see, the thing is if you were, I'm such a hard sell. I'm such a hard sell because I don't believe in much. You would have to give me winning lotto numbers, and I still kind of wouldn't believe you.
It's just been a fluke.
I'm serious. I believe in mathematical absurdities. So even if someone, I don't know, I'm really weird.
And the main thing, as far as that people get down on woo, is it's usually people who are trying to sell you something, that they're trying to sell you a crystal or some kind of essential oil or something, and claiming that's going to heal you.
Exactly.
Yeah, that about sums it up, and it infuriates me. I get the whole "oh, you just believe in woo" line a fair bit because pagan, which is always rather fun.
Yeah, I mean that's a bit of a that is a bit of a stereotype. I mean, I will admit, yes, when I was a pagan, there were definitely a lot of people who did believe in pseudoscience, but
oh yeah, absolutely.
But it doesn't mean everyone does.
No, if I had a quid for every time I had told someone to knock it off because that sort of pseudoscience doesn't necessarily belong within paganism, I'd be a fucking millionaire.
I used to have massive arguments. Me and my ex had a. I mean, when several people were advising this woman to come off of antidepressants and like use some. I can't remember what it was. It was either homeopathy or some nonsense like that.
Yeah.
Me and my ex are saying, you are not doctors. You should not be telling people to come off of fucking antidepressants.
One of the things. Sorry.
You know, you'd have these arguments with people who just thought they knew better. You know.
Yeah. One of the things that's really frustrated me is the people, you know, who I've met who were really sincere about like the tarot readings and some things like that. You know, that it struck me that, you know, they're good at reading people. They're good at, you know, bringing things out and putting things together. And I felt that there's a lot of wasted potential there, that these people probably could have made really good therapists. You know, that they have that basic skill set that they could really be helping people.
Yeah, you're right.
I agree.
You know,
I have actually had someone say something similar to me, where it was just like they were of the opinion I should be using my ability to get accurate information out of tarot cards by, in their opinion, subconsciously reading people to help other people. And my response to which was basically just, listen, I don't have the mental wherewithal to be a therapist.
Yeah, and there's that too, that, you know, you may have the basic skill set for something, but whether or not you can, you know, survive, shall I say, going through all the official training might be another matter.
Exactly.
Yeah, I like, much as I think being a therapist would be cool and helping people would be nice, I couldn't do it.
But I say therapist in a general sense that, you know, they exist on a lot of different levels, and
absolutely,
you know, there are a lot of people who could help with that, even if they don't have a lot of training. As long as they know to tell the people when to seek more advanced help.
Yeah, I've been told that I basically act as a therapist for my in-person group because a lot of them have a lot of like family issues or shit, or they are like closeted queers. And it's fairly easy for me to give advice on that sort of shit because I've done a lot of reading. And my general advice is make sure you're safe, make sure you're communicating with other people, get therapy.
Absolutely. I think it's important for it's important to talk to somebody.
Yeah.
We should take the stigma away from getting therapy in general. It's always important to, like, you know, I'm not the kind of person that lives by committee, but even I have to run things by people sometimes.
And part of this is, you know, it's an extension of how badly healthcare is handled in the U.S. Because even people who have good health insurance, often it will not pay for mental health. It will not pay for therapists. It will not pay for psychiatric drugs.
Well, depending on what plan you have, Kaiser makes you pay extra. And depending on the level of health.
You know, I've known a lot of people who had, you know, good middle-class jobs that they were making $50,000 to $100,000 a year, and the insurance through their employer still would not pay for a therapist.
Oh, yeah. And it honestly always depends on how much money are you going to cost the company or the insurance, and can they afford to have you do it?
Well, and that's why the insurance plans don't like to pay for it, because it's hard to qualify progress with a therapist.
True.
So they don't want to be paying for weekly sessions when they don't know how long it's going to take.
You know, I never thought about that, because at my job, a lot of people get the lap band surgery. Quite a few. And I always was like, hey, that's covered under our insurance, and it is. But there's quite a few other things that aren't, like therapy.
Hey, Microraptor.
Hello.
Hey.
Hey, Microraptor.
Hi.
How's it going?
It's going well. How's
We
it
don't
going
see
with
you
you?
here very often.
As I
Yeah,
say,
yeah. Sorry. I don't know why. I I want to be here more often. But
Well,
yeah,
I know the time zone thing, the time offset is
yeah,
awkward for being on opposite sides of the Atlantic.
yeah.
well, thank you for making it on this special occasion.
Yeah. Then yeah, the celebration. Yeah. So congrats.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's kind of weird how the time passes that I don't feel I've done a whole lot with my channel, but yeah, I've been doing this for 3 years.
Yeah. And also, what do you want to do with the channel? Like, maybe you. Yeah, I'm assuming you don't want to be like a sideshow that like teaches a bunch of science or like something that does a bunch of charity stuff or something. You maybe this is what you want to do, to just have people talk about nerdy stuff and about science and stuff.
Yeah, well, I know I don't have the dedication to be spending the time to do the serious research every week on things.
Yeah.
So I have to do my part in a more casual way because otherwise if I had to be like doing the research and turning things out every week, it would quickly just start feeling like an obligation. It wouldn't be fun anymore.
Yeah. And like your life hasn't failed yet because you didn't turn out to be the next Carl Sagan or something.
Yeah. And I really don't want to have a huge channel because I want to be able to interact with people here. If I had like 10,000 subscribers, yeah, there's no way I would have any idea who most of them were.
Yeah, exactly.
That's very true. And I think that the idea of having a big channel, like much as my channel could in theory get big, that idea scares me slightly.
Yeah.
Because I think about it now, and I think if I've got 100 and something subscribers now, if I imagine 100 people sat in a room, that's a scary amount of people to speak to.
Yeah.
I used to send out, I guess, personalized message for every Twitter follower that I get. And then as soon as I pass, I want to say 50, I stopped. And I'm just like, I can't keep up with it. So I just wonder how big, how difficult it would be to keep up, like you mentioned. Actually, I think for the smaller channels to, because I get to meet everybody else this way and get to speak with everybody as well.
Yeah, I had posted a thing on Twitter a couple of weeks ago, just saying that I really didn't understand, why people had those posts would come up about that follower service, about how many subscribers they gained or lost and stuff like that. And it's like, I didn't get why people were concerned about the numbers, and the conversation went on, and I just made some crack about if I ever got up to 500 subscribers, because honestly, I never looked. Because after I typed that, I went and looked about that crack about 500 or 500 followers on Twitter it was. And when I looked in that, I realized that there's over 800 people following me on Twitter. But I've only got about half that number on YouTube.
Yeah.
My Twitter numbers are through the roof, and my YouTube numbers are laughable. It's you know what? The same stuff that I put on Instagram is the same stuff I put on Twitter. I only had like 80 to 90 something followers on Instagram. I'm almost at 1,000 something in less time. There's no rhyme or reason to any of it.
It's weird because I checked because I've been stuck around 360, 365 for several months now. And then yesterday I had a little look. For some reason, whilst I was streaming, it's like suddenly I gained 5 subscribers out of nowhere. I was like, what happened here?
Yeah, that happened to me. That I was stuck at that point about 320 to 350 subscribers for a long time. Doorknob head's asking who's Purple Sideshow Bob, and If I had a sidekick at this point, it's probably Godless Sewing or else Jenny Morgan, one of the two. Just because they're the ones I can depend on most to show up every week.
I have giant feet and I miss my big floppy hair. So I'll totally take that trouble. And I do plot the death of all my enemies too. So I'm totally Sideshow Bob.
and you really hate garden rakes.
Absolutely. Okay, so no joke, I had to I have like all kinds of fancy brooms and stuff. I almost broke my nose with a shop broom that my son put back the wrong way in the entry walking into the house. So that's real.
The other day, actually, you know, the hoe, the garden hoe.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Boy, I didn't think that could actually happen. They got whacked in the back of the head.
Oh, that all. I said this earlier. The car I drive, the driver's side door is the same size as the entire car, and so it kind of hooks a little bit at the top of the door, and it's right at almost eye level, but it's temple level. I have smashed my head at least 6 or 7 times in my car door.
Oh boy!
Trying to close the thing just in a rush, or like leaning in, and I'll kick the door.
Well, what you were saying about the garden rakes and that cartoon cliche thing. My best experience with that was when my van actually lost a wheel when I was coming to a stoplight, because it was just such a weird experience that the van just kind of hunched over a little bit, and I watched the wheel roll through the intersection about 300 yards until it hit a curb on the other side and fall flat. It's like I'd seen that in a movie so many times, and I'd said, that can't really happen.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, no, it was exactly like how you see it in the movie.
For me, it was. I didn't think it was. I didn't think it was possible to see an explosion so big that you briefly see daytime, and that's real.
Oh.
I've seen an explosion at night that was so powerful it briefly made the sky blue.
That makes sense to me that you could see that, but I've never experienced it.
Explosions are not necessarily big things.
Our transformer during the '94 earthquake, our transformer blew, and my window just happened to be facing west.
Oh yeah, the electronic explosions.
And it was the one, depending on what direction you're saying, you could say it feeds Los Angeles or it feeds this side of LA, but has its own industrial area on the outskirts of this town.
Yeah, even just those transformers that you see up on the pole, that just serve a small area of the neighborhood. If one of those things go, you'll get a huge blue flash because the overhead lines are at like 50,000 volts.
The entire plant went up because of the earthquake, and it was still to this day the largest explosion I've ever experienced, at least in person. But the thing is, the explosion was so huge, but we couldn't tell the difference because we just experienced the largest earthquake I'd ever experienced in my life. So at that point, and the ground moved for almost a month and a half, 2 months after that. Technically, it's still moving.
Hey, Chris. Gravy is only a theory. No, it's more than that. I get it every time I go to Kentucky Fried Chicken.
Oh, gravy is the best. On biscuits, especially.
I don't care for their biscuits, but the mashed potatoes and gravy, even though my stomach doesn't really like it, I love it.
If you get the old, Southern fried biscuits and get a good gravy on it, it's, oh.
I thought you were going to talk about the bowl.
Microraptor, you sell tickets, and I'll show up for that one.
All right. See you.
Optimus Prime. Would Optimus Prime just shoot motor oil all over me? That sounds awful, actually.
Hot motor oil.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know how. Never mind. This whole transaction sounds scary now. And given the size of a transformer, I'd actually run. Oh, and studying Chris, I love coleslaw. I absolutely love coleslaw.
The Transformers, it all depends on how they do the mass shunting. You know, it's one of the greatest things about the Transformers. Like, you know, Soundwave went from being a pocket tape recorder that literally in one episode, a teenage kid picked him up and put him in his pocket, to then he transformed to a robot, and then he was suddenly 25 feet tall.
Yeah.
You know, and that was all within about 3 minutes in one episode.
Well, it's like Megatron turned into a handgun, effectively, you know?
Yep.
See, the real answer to that is that they just kind of grow additional mass because something quantum physics.
No. See, people don't get the other half of that equation is cats.
Okay.
See, when you're pinned down because there's a cat in your lap and you can't lift it, you know the cat should only weigh about 8 or 10 pounds. A nearby transformer has shunted all their mass into the cat, so the cat then weighs several tons.
It all makes sense.
That adds up.
So I always remember the like, because I was of the age when like Transformer toys were, you know, the big thing. I always remember the Transformers GoBots war.
Yep.
I have never been into Transformers. I just made that joke because they made like, yeah. Please don't get too into this, or I won't have anything to contribute.
Well, yeah, they were big right after I had gotten out of school. So yeah, I was recording them every afternoon while I was at work to watch them when I had dinner.
I mean, let's be honest. This was like the 1980s when pretty much every cartoon on TV was an advert for a toy of some kind.
Yeah, 86, 87 was the peak of the Transformers.
Well, it started obviously with like Masters of the Universe, wasn't it? It was where that thing kind of started, really, with the whole. We'll make a toy and then but
He-Man was absolutely my hero as a kid.
Actually, I think Transformers was the one that started it because
Masters of the Universe was first. Then when Hasbro sort of relaunched G.I. Joe, they sort of did that. Then I think Transformers and GoBots sort of come along. But Transformer toys they were based off of something that was been selling well in Japan for years.
Well, and that's the thing, that Transformers in Japan weren't even a single toy line. It was they took toys from 3 separate toy lines. And Hasbro was going to produce the toys, and they took the idea they got a couple of guys from Marvel Comics, you know, and basically they gave the guys all these toys, and they said, okay, give us backstories for all these characters.
Yeah. That's awesome.
See, Marvel did a lot. I mean, really, it's probably what Marvel probably did better off of their collaborations with Hasbro in the 80s than they did off of their own characters. You know?
It amuses me how sometimes fields can feel like they're one thing, but in reality they're another. For example, what McDonald's really does is real estate.
Yeah.
Yeah, because their food is industrial and punched out. My son is obsessed.
What is it you call food at McDonald's?
Oh, my son's obsessed with McDonald's, and like to the point now where I will buy it for him and I won't even eat it anymore because I'm so. No matter which McDonald's you go to, you know how it's going to taste because no matter what you order, it will taste like that at every single McDonald's. That's not right.
Yeah. Funny thing now with with McDonald's, with everybody delivering, I saw a story that this one woman, her kid, who was like 4 years old, watched mommy do it enough times that the kid grabbed her phone and had figured out how to order McDonald's through the phone and have it delivered. And the mom wound up with 18 Happy Meals.
Oh my goodness.
Didn't the
awesome.
person notice that, oh, this is a kid ordering, I probably shouldn't accept this?
Well, but if it was coming from the mother's phone and, she had streamlined for the one-touch payment and all that.
Oh, right. Yeah, it wasn't, they didn't
Yeah.
force anyone. They just did that.
You know what? Ox just pointed something out.
Yeah.
I'm obsessed with McDonald's chicken nuggets to the point where they have these weird sales, and I think it was like $2.50 for 10 or something outrageous, and I ended up getting 40 because I was really high, and I don't even know why I even said the number. And even my kid looked at me like, do you realize that you're about to get 40 chicken nuggets? And I sat there, I ate all of them. I swear they put drugs in their food. Their fries, still to this day, are irresistible.
They
Oh,
put
apparently
sugar
they
on
don't
them,
think
don't
it
they?
goes.
That just reminds me of my boyfriend. Just kind of there are certain foods that anytime I mention them, my boyfriend is like, surely there's crack in those foods.
Exactly. I agree.
Well, as far as the McDonald's fries, you just like the taste of the steroids.
That's exactly
See, this
true.
this is the secret of the McDonald's chicken, is they put steroids in the French fries because people leave them littered all over their parking lots and the seagulls come and eat them. So they're doing this to make the seagulls grow bigger, because then at night they go out and harvest the seagulls for all of their chicken products.
That's some damn good seagull. That is some damn good seagull. I have a theory: with enough spices and with a hot enough oil, you could hide anything. So that's some damn good seagull.
I'm in Minnesota. Why do we have fucking seagulls when we're in the middle of the continent?
We get them. I go to the city dump at least once a month, and men get paid to fire blank shotgun shells at seagulls.
Well, that's I know they originally rode ships in through the Great Lakes, but how are they breeding in Minnesota? And they also found out that the birds are smarter than people give them credit for.
Yeah.
Because the street lights over the highways have a light sensor on them. The seagulls will go and they will sit on top of the lights, because then that makes the light come on and the light warms up. Well, the seagulls have also realized that if the light is off for a while, it gets cold again. So the seagulls have learned to cover the light sensor with their shit so that the lights never go off and they always stay warm for them to sit there.
That's something for me to walk into. Hi.
Hi.
Sorry.
Right. And I was just about to comment about Grant Farmer said I dip my Wendy's fries in the Frosties. Okay. So I knew someone that did this, and at first I was like, you're disgusting. And then I tried it, and it's not that bad.
Okay, well, consider this. The taste of the fries are still in your mouth when you go and drink the Frosty.
True.
Okay, has anybody heard of this biodrama, The Founder?
No.
I'm not familiar with that one.
No, never heard of it.
Okay, Chris, you gotta give us more on that.
Oh, actually, hold on. Is that the one about the guy who started McDonald's, actually? I think with Michael Keaton, actually. I think I may have watched. I think that's what it may have been called.
So,
it's about the guy who founded. It's about
familiarity.
Ray,
I think
about Ray Kroc, the guy who quote unquote founded McDonald's, but he didn't. He actually just bought it off of the brothers. But,
exactly.
Yeah. I have been to the first official McDonald's. In Des Plaines, Illinois. I grew up in the next town over from it.
Cool.
Yeah, that's
So-
still there.
The-
I believe.
Yeah,
the
I
origi-
actually went to it quite a lot in the 70s.
Well, the original one,
Yeah.
the original one was in San Bernardino, isn't it? The original.
I've been to that one. It's still like a shrine.
Yeah.
The YouTuber Quinton Reviews recently did a video about themed McDonald's, and he was like, oh, he was so nostalgic about McDonald's, and like he loved it when he was a kid, and like he was so positive. And to me, it's just like, I hate McDonald's. Like I eat it there if there's no other options, but most of the time there is. But like I every time I see like something that like their like a McDonald's restaurant or like their typical McDonald's interior design, like I just feel like, oh, because I don't think it tastes good. Like I don't have positive feelings about McDonald's in the way that he does. So
I think in America, at least, it's kind of ingrained in our culture almost.
Yeah, I thought it might be something like that.
And it's everywhere. Like I'm trying to think of somewhere where McDonald's isn't, and I've been everywhere except for Hawaii.
Yeah.
I mean,
it is almost everywhere in Sweden, not everywhere, but there's you're usually somewhere near a McDonald's in Sweden. Like,
And if you drive around in America, when you get out in the middle of nowhere, McDonald's is the only fast food place, that can afford to put a franchise out in the middle of nowhere next to a gas station, and then they make a killer.
I mean, we don't have like many of the big American fast food chains in the UK. It's probably, it is McDonald's, Burger King, KFC, and I suppose Pizza Hut as well.
There is also there is a Taco Bell in Manchester.
Taco Bell.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
There's a Taco Bell in Southampton. Taco Bell have just started to get established here, but they don't have that many outlets.
No,
Thankfully, though,
of all the things we sent over there, why?
no. Wendy's is on about trying to get back into the UK again because they haven't been here in a long time. But the one, thankfully, the one that fell flat on its face, it had its first outlet, and they pulled out of the UK was Chick-fil-A. And that's because their reputation for being homophobic assholes had preceded them. So they opened their first outlet, and every single day from the time it was open, there was a protest outside. It was they just pulled out. It was just like, this isn't worth it.
Yeah, it was only there a couple of months because they weren't making any money. They were getting more protesters than customers.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing that their reputation had preceded them. So.
Yeah.
The one thing I like about Wendy's is that they use real ingredients, so you're not eating horse or kangaroo. Like they actually use real ingredients.
Well, that's what McDonald's claims too. And as somebody who used to work at McDonald's, and I could not touch the stuff afterwards.
Same with Baskin Robbins.
Yeah.
I recently learned that there's KFC in Sweden, and one day when I was gonna when I felt like buying some fast food, I checked it out and I sort of like, it's only chicken. Like I knew that it's chicken themed, but I didn't know that it was packaged of only chicken and then nothing else. Like, do you just eat just a bunch of chicken? Like I like chicken, obviously, but like I want something more with it.
Oh, Ox brought up. Don't be a Gyro hater. There's a Gyro place out in the middle of the desert between LA and Vegas. It is one of the.
Okay.
I have to stop there every time. I have to.
I love Gyros. somebody mentioned Arby's, and I was like, hey, listen. They call them gyros on the menu, but those are not gyros.
No.
I don't hate gyros. I hate copies.
Okay,
Because
well,
I have had the real fucking shit.
Well, I was
I've
on
had
the
the
same
real
thing.
stuff.
I was on the same thing because, I love Arby's as one of my favorite places for the roast beef. And, I love gyros, but yeah, Arby's does not make them. That's just what they make isn't even close.
Yeah,
And that's
because
like
it's
a lot
beef,
of
not lamb. There's no lamb in it.
Also, like,
but it's like the closest place here to get really good ones is like 70 miles away. So we only get them like once a month when I go to pick up Sloth Girl's son, because he lives near there.
It's also like when someone says like cheesesteak or like a Philly cheesesteak, go there and then tell me if what you're eating when you come back to where you live is like a real Philly cheesesteak. It's unreal.
Okay, I grew up in the Chicago suburbs, and in New York, in New York City, what they served me as a Chicago style pizza was like nothing I had ever seen in my life.
Mm-hmm.
It's like how can you put the word Chicago on the menu and give me this?
A lot of our quote unquote Mexican joints aren't even Tex-Mex. They're actually like Tex-Mex. They're actually Floridian with a side of Tex-Mex thrown in.
Yikes.
It sounds terrible, but it's actually pretty good.
No, Tex-Mex is really good. I live in the land of Mexican restaurants, so I'm really judgy.
And that's
I
will never
understand
call
that.
Taco Bell Mexican food.
It's offensive.
That's just
no,
class.
you heard me say directly. I was
only
like,
if you're
of all
willing to
the
get the
shit we
runs.
sent over there, it was Taco Bell. No. And the thing is that basically the way that a lot of the Tex-Mex joints are handled here is they use a lot of the agricultural ingredients from here in Florida. So they try not, so it's altered, but it's not like done in a way where you sit down and you're like, this is terrible food. It's actually really good. It's just, I hate it when people come in and they're like, this is Tex-Mex, and I'm like, listen, I was raised by a guy from Oklahoma, in Texas. He lived equally in both states where they have a lot of Tex-Mex food. This is not that. It's good, but this is not that.
Yeah. Well, that's like, the only reason Taco Bell made it was that they were always open past midnight. So when you had the munchies at 2:00 in the morning, it was
cheap. And they were cheap. Yep.
Yeah.
Cheap as hell.
Same thing with Jack in the Box in the 90s. It seemed like there was a couple in this town, and then they exploded because they were open 24 hours.
Yeah, and then they disappeared from the Midwest entirely. I didn't think there were any left, but I guess there were still in some states.
Oh, they're everywhere here in California.
In the Midwest, I have not seen one since the 90s.
Wow. There was a scandal. There was a scandal in the 90s. They had tainted beef. And also a company out. It actually came from a California company. And so they went under for a while. And that's when they brought Jack, the character. And Jack got popular. The ball with the big head.
Oh, sorry. Were we talking about Jack in the Box?
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, I've only seen one in Missouri, but
I don't know what you're talking about, Jack in the Box, in this context.
It's really bad fast food.
Mm-hmm.
It's just cheap. Fast food in California is not cheap at all anymore in general.
Okay.
But it's just good cheap food. Well, not even good. It's like if you're drunk at 3:00 in the morning and you
there's nowhere else to go.
And Denny's parking lot is full.
Yeah, see, in England, this is why we have kebab takeaways for if you're drunk at like 3:00 in the morning and want food.
Oh, when my granddad was really, really ill, It's going to sound really weird to say a couple of months after his wake, because we had his wake while he was still alive, so that he could go to the party.
Yeah, I know people that do that.
So, because he knew he was dying, so I think it was like 2 a.m. or something. He phoned up his mate, Khaled, and was just like, "Hey, are you still up? Can you bring me a kebab?"
That's awesome.
I was last week. I was in an area. I live in Stockholm, and last week I was in an area of Stockholm that has relatively many immigrants, and a lot that would, if you just see them, would assume that they're Muslims. And like I started thinking about people who are racist and hate immigrants and stuff like that, and I scared that their culture will come here, and I of course had the thought that if they're so scared of their culture, like the Americans are already here. Like we have a lot of your food, a lot of your music, a lot of your TV shows, like a lot of your brands, like yeah, and same thing with the UK. Like your stuff is already here too. It's sort of we do have that, but we also have our Swedish culture, and I love Swedish culture, but it's obvious that it can be here at the same time, and like they can influence each other.
You know, Mexico.
Absolutely, and I would like to see evidence of any culture that has not been influenced by other cultures.
Yeah, there isn't any.
I was about
This
to
is
say,
what cultures do.
When I was younger, I was shocked. I was in the middle of Mexico. It's this beautiful place. You see all this culture, and then you turn a corner and they have a Burger King. I was
just
shocked.
Like that. Yeah, this is like I'm trying to remember that thing of it's like explain British culture to someone, and it's you just sort of say, okay, it's watching American TV shows on Japanese TVs, driving German cars,
while eating curry.
Whilst eating Indian food, but above anything else, being suspicious of all things foreign.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
But to be fair, what was it? I heard a joke a long time ago. Like we steal shows from the UK, Japan steals shows from us, and then Mexico steals the shows from Japan. Because there's only certain countries that have like a star system like we do, where we have famous people who are in all the movies. So we kind of all copy each other in a way.
Yeah, I'm actually more surprised about the Mexico.
Well, the BBC does that too. But you'll wind up like for any decade, you'll see the BBC uses the same actors in a half dozen different TV shows.
The BBC, where we have 8 actors, 4 props, and 1 set.
Yep.
So Sam told a joke before I could. I was literally about to say that.
Actually, there is a literal truth behind that. The early Doctor Who episodes. I'm sorry, what, Micro?
In the UK, are you really an actor if you haven't been on Doctor Who?
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
Exactly.
But the early Doctor Who episodes were filmed on such a tight budget that the BBC, when it was the first and second Doctor, they were telling them that, okay, this is what we're going to be filming. So after we're done, you can use this set for 3 days. And they had to write a script based on whatever set was going to be available.
Yeah.
Well, that's funny.
Yeah, and that was kind of half the point of Doctor Who, was that it was supposed to be really versatile, so that the budget didn't matter excessively.
Oh yeah, and you can tell. One of the things that I noticed when I started getting episodes of the first Doctor was Susan, I think it was. Susan literally accidentally pulled off a piece of foam off the rock wall that they were crawling across, and you could see it in the background as they were still filming. Because there was no way in hell they were going to stop and redo it because they didn't have the budget for it. So they were just like, we're just going to act like that shit's not there.
Yeah, because I think like the original concept of Doctor Who was to be more of a sort of more along the lines of an educational sort of program.
yeah.
That it would be, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of the
Huge-
whole thing, the time travel thing, when a lot of things was so they could have sort of historical adventures or whatever.
Yeah.
And I think
Yes.
obviously as they realised, it gradually more morphed into a science fiction show.
Yeah, and that's what a lot of people don't get is that it was originally aimed at like 10-year-olds.
Oh yeah, and the whole setup was if they went into the past, it was a historical episode, and if they went into the future, it was more of a sciencey kind of
Like moral.
moral
Yeah.
type thing.
Oh yeah, and
I've
they've maintained that.
Yeah, they've definitely maintained the moral thing. But I remember watching it vaguely on PBS as a kid because my mom was a huge Doctor Who fan. And
that's where I fell in love with it.
yeah,
that's where I got
remember
familiar with
being
it
the
too. Was
background.
on PBS in the 80s.
I watched also Masterpiece Theater. I watched a ton of BBC shows on PBS.
Well, the BBC or the PBS was always my default. You know, being the youngest growing up, it's like everyone else would go off to school, and I'd basically be alone. So it was a good thing Sesame Street premiered. You know, I was the target audience when Sesame Street premiered. I was 5 years old.
Oh, wow.
But, you know, it was funny because, like, I'd be playing in the living room and my mom was a reporter for the local paper. So she was, like, you know, typing in the kitchen. So, yeah, I kind of grew up with just the shows. And, you know, after Sesame Street and Mr. Rogers, it was always Julia Child that came on. So I had this weird thing of basically like Julia Child being like my TV aunt.
See, I have freaked my boyfriend out a couple of times by mentioning that I've never actually seen an episode of Mr. Rogers. I've only ever seen clips.
Same here.
You know, as a kid, I didn't care for Mr. Rogers. As a parent, I had a lot more respect for him.
Yeah, as a
Who was
kid,
it?
I found him boring.
I was about to say I would fall asleep to Mr. Rogers when I was a kid.
Wasn't Mr. Rogers the actor? Maybe he's actually named Mr. Rogers. Wasn't he bisexual?
I don't
So
know
many
anything about his
stories.
sexuality.
There are so many
Who was-
stories.
He was legitimately an ordained minister.
And a sniper in Vietnam with more kills than Chris Kyle.
What the heck?
I'll put Mr. Rogers numbers up against anybody. He's on the book.
Wait a minute. He was a sniper?
Yeah, look it
I
up.
would
It's
never imagine
awesome.
that.
It is
Well,
awesome.
especially with being a minister, that seems to be a kind of harsh thing to try and reconcile.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Mr. Rogers, in terms of being bisexual, Snopes basically says that one of his friends post-mortem said that he'd disclosed being bisexual but never came out.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's a deathbed confession thing.
It was less of a deathbed confession thing and more of a one of his friends saying once he was dead that he was bisexual.
Yeah.
Okay.
Were we talking about deathbed confessions earlier? Or
Yep.
Well,
Yeah.
we officially come
Yeah,
full
we
circle.
sometimes do that. We sometimes circle around back to a subject we did before.
See, I feel like my something that I would almost be tempted to do purely and simply to mess with my family's heads would be to do a fake deathbed conversion to Islam.
You know, I was thinking about that tomorrow because I'm going to be around all those evangelicals, and like to the point where I probably won't even wear the vest I'm wearing right now, because it's my lazy vest. I always throw it on, but I was thinking about saying that tomorrow. If they ask me, like, well, will you accept Jesus Christ? I was going to say, I'll accept Allah.
With my entire family gathered around my deathbed, I want my last words to be, "You'll never find my money."
Okay, so
See,
that's funny
Okay,
and not
seriously,
funny.
what I want to do is I want to have I basically want to have it written in my will somewhere that you need to catapult me into a swamp with the gators and see if they would take it seriously.
Yeah, I seriously have to get a power of attorney written up for Sloth Girl because yeah, if any member of my family were to wind up handling the funeral arrangements, it would be nothing like what I want.
Oh,
yeah.
I already know my funeral is not going to be anything like what I want, so that's why I've told all of my friends. I'm like, unless you feel like you need to pay respect directly to my family,
Yeah.
don't bother.
Well, my problem is realistically, unless it's an accident of some kind, I'm likely to outlive everyone I know.
Huh. That's awesome.
I
You've
already lived for 65 million years, so
Yeah, I don't know who's going to be left to bury me.
Now that I know people that I love and people in my family really do deathbed confessions, I hope I don't live within 500 miles of here, and I'm not even kidding. I'm going to move so far away from these people.
That is why I've said I
Oh.
literally need to keep the state of Wisconsin between me and most of my family.
I've
About
said this
350 miles is about the minimum safe distance.
I said this a million times. Like, I was going to move pre-COVID, and I'm glad I didn't now, but I'm still going to move because, wow. I forgot how fundy the people around me still are. And because I'm out and I'm loud and I fight for what I believe in, people leave me alone. But I forgot how fundy they are.
I was going to say earlier, I want to have the same thing that the British comedian Spike Milligan had on his gravestone, where it just said, "I told you I was ill."
okay,
that's
I
hilarious.
want my I want my gravestone to read something along the lines of don't worry, my body's not here.
I honestly kind of want what doesn't kill you makes you wish you were dead.
That's quite fun. Another one that I would be tempted to go for is just I am a box in dirt.
I have
Instead of
been
I've got a jar
convinced
of
for
dirt.
decades that mine is going to wind up reading. It seemed like a good idea at the time.
Yeah, that's how mine's gonna be, unfortunately.
Did you guys see that thing? I think it was like last year or year before that funeral in Ireland. The guy who
that was so
played
awesome.
one final prank on his friends before and basically as the box was being lowered into the ground, he'd had like a speaker set up in the box, and you just heard like this knocking, like knock, knock, knock. Help! Let me out of this fucking box.
And it was
Stuck
his
in
voice.
Well, I've told Sloth Girl already that if my family insists on the normal funeral and viewing the body, she has to hire a ventriloquist to sit in the front row so I respond to everyone who goes up to the casket.
You know, it's awesome when you regardless of what you believe, it's awesome when you honor someone's wishes. We honored my dad's wishes, and he had a 21 gun salute and pipers with kilts, and I mean they marched before the service, after the service, and they came and performed at the like ceremony we had after.
See, this is why I'm telling everybody when something happens to me to like fuck off and do their own thing, because like none of my wishes are really going to be like respected. So if they're not going to be respected, I might as well tell the people that know me best to be like, you know what, just get together, eat a lot of food, and don't just tell the good stuff, tell the real stuff.
Exactly.
Just make sure you all have plenty of food, make sure you have, just enjoy each other's company, because whatever the hell my family winds up doing is not going to be me at all.
So I have a quick question. In the UK, is there such thing as donor cards? Like, if you were to get in an accident, can they harvest your organs?
No, you are automatically a donor once you reach adulthood, unless you opt out.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's same in America.
No, actually, in America, you have to opt in.
You have to opt in.
Oh,
at
really?
Least, in
Yeah.
some places.
Yeah, you
I'm
have
not
to sign up
entirely
to
sure. It may depend on the state you're in.
Okay, well, at least in Florida, it's opt-in.
Yeah,
so I
I
can
think
tell
most
you that.
of them are opt-in, but I think some states actually have it that unless you have it checked on your driver's license, you are in.
Yep, and I'm in.
Yeah.
Although I prefer science has its way with my body before anything.
Well, I'm thinking that I'd like to specifically find a way to have my brain donated to some place that's doing research on autism. Because if they can figure out something from my brain that, helps somebody down the line.
I would love to donate my entire upper chest cavity and everything, because I'm a born asthmatic who smoked cigarettes for 20 years. So I would love for them to, and they can have my brain to see why I was so dumb to do that.
I love how you all are noble, and I'm just like, just feed me to the fucking gators in the swamp.
See, my solution is basically let science have what it wants, and then the rest bury under a tree.
Yeah,
that was exactly what I was going to say.
Well, and that was my original thing, which they're actually doing now.
Yep.
But I mean, again, decades ago, I was saying that, don't waste all the money. Just bury me in a very simple pine box that's going to degrade with the pine cone on my chest. So that then as the tree grows, anything that's left of me, I will literally become a tree.
They're doing that now. And those pods are so expensive. I could take you guys to Home Depot right now and build you one for like $150.
Well, there are some very simple ones that really isn't anything more than a burlap bag.
Exactly. That's exactly what it is. And they wrap your body in it because you would become the nutrients for the tree and the tree would grow.
That's the thing. Like, once something becomes a trend, or if everybody starts doing it, then it becomes expensive.
Exactly.
And
it really is so expensive to die. It is so expensive to die.
It is.
At least in America.
Well, and what Grant is saying that, it is all for the people who are left behind.
Exactly.
But, the part that kind of offends me is I know that, just like people view history, that my family has a rather sanitized, whitewashed idea of who I am. Yeah. And I would rather people more remember who I actually am rather than, their version of it.
I was given control of the family history box. And so I have a cousin who's a Jackmo. He might as well be Xmo at this point. And I've pretty much arranged it to where I'm like, you get the box when I'm gone because I know you're not going to rewrite anything. I have put everything about myself that I could possibly put in there in that box, and kept them from whitewashing me. So
okay, what's
my
a
parents
Jackmo?
don't even know. A Jackmo is somebody who still believes in Mormonism and is still considers themselves Mormons, but they don't follow any of the rules.
Okay.
At my dad's ceremony after his funeral, people were telling so many lies. I left.
I was amused by some of the stories at my granddad's funeral. There were stories. Some of the stories that were told were stories I hadn't actually heard before, including how the first time he met my nana was her shouting at him because he had got a company delivery wrong.
Oh wow!
Yeah, when my fiance died, her mother stepped in and took over everything from the official funeral, which was really fucking wrong because in the 5 years I'd lived with her, she'd talked to her mother twice.
Exactly.
You know,
Yeah.
but so yeah, we arranged just at the community center a separate observance for her. And I laid out on the table, you know, her books and her various stuffies and things that were, you know, significant to her for everybody to take home a couple of mementos. And yeah, we just, you know, spent the day just telling stories about her. You know, the things that people remembered about her.
Right.
That's more important. That's important.
Guys, I'm going to have to jump off now.
Okay.
So I'll just say congratulations on 3 years of doing this, Perps. You know, you do a really good job with this stuff. You know, so it's not always a good place to come and have a talk with people with your channel. So,
oh, thank you.
Thanks
for coming by.
you guys. Okay, Joe. I'll speak to you guys later.
You got anything you want to plug before you go?
I should be streaming a little later today. So about 1 o'clock UK time. So yeah. So as far as I know, that's still on. So okay, I'll speak to you guys later.
Hi, Jim.
Okay. Bye bye.
Right.
Take care.
Night. I'm looking at what DOG is saying, and I'm sitting here thinking, you know, I'd much prefer that to what I think they're going to wind up doing.
Yeah, I know that my family will go with pretty much the traditional Christian funeral, and
yeah, and that's the thing. Like, it's I fear for a lot of like anybody who has either transitioned over and then using the dead name.
That happens a lot more than we think. It actually happens a lot.
Yeah.
I had my name legally changed in 1997. It was only 3 years ago that I finally got my brother to write it on an envelope because the mailman was returning the stuff for having, you know, for that last name not being on the mailbox.
Oh.
Yeah. I'm legally speaking, I still have my birth name, but my but my chosen name, the real name I want to have is Clara. And so I use that most of the time, but like I still don't look like a woman with in quotation marks. So yeah, I still have it legally speaking. I still have the old name.
I still have my dead name, legally speaking, and a lot of people IRL still call me by my dead name purely and simply because I've not gotten around to telling them yet, and it's like I'm slowly having to start telling people.
Yep.
But I'm being non-binary. There is a certain stereotype that we pick names that are nouns, and I followed that trope slightly, and so telling people what my actual name is usually a conversation.
Well, I'm still taking suggestions because I'm still trying to decide on a more feminine first name. So
yeah,
rather than being gender neutral name.
I associate the name Sam with trans men because, like, I just happen to know about relatively many people named Sam who are trans men. Right.
Now, Sam is actually my chosen one of my chosen middle names. But it is in my primary school. There was one guy called Sam and one girl called Sam.
I'm guessing people in this team know who Paul and Morgan are. The Christian fundamentalists.
Fucking Paul and Morgan.
I have a neighbor across the street, and her name is Sam.
Could I please tell the thing I was going to tell? In Sweden, Morgan is only a male name. Here, it's only men that have the name Morgan. So I think it's kind of ironic that the woman in that couple is named Morgan, when for me I associate it with men. So he's breaking that mental stereotype without knowing it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, a bit ironic. Yeah, go on.
Yeah, well, in different countries, they will have different connotations that, I didn't realize just to try and separate between all the different gens,
Yeah.
that's, I was calling, Jen's Little Corner, I was calling her Jen's and emphasizing the S, and didn't realize I was actually offending her because apparently in Australia, that's the masculine form.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that either.
Neither
That
did
is
I.
not a commonly known thing.
Yeah. Good to know. I'm guessing she knew that you didn't do it intentionally.
Yeah, but I had been really doing it for months before she pointed it out to me. And it's like, oh, I didn't know that because in the US, I've never heard it used that way.
Yeah. And of course, if she would have said it right away, you would have seen it right away.
Yeah. Well, I think she just didn't want to point it out because she didn't want to make an issue of it. But when I kept going on doing it.
See, I once I have changed my name legally, I also want to and I acknowledge that it's possibly slightly morbid that I've already thought of this through a bit, but I want to leave in my will something to be read out at my funeral that's very explicitly very pagan. Not because I think it's necessary, just because I think it'll piss off my relatives.
Yeah.
That'll work.
Well, and I told people, like when my grandfather died, I don't even remember what year that was, but just 45, 50 years ago, I told people that I don't do funerals. And even for that, it's like I wrote something out for my grandmother to read there, but I wasn't going. So it's like, I sure as hell don't want anybody to do a funeral for me because I've been doing everything I can to avoid everyone else's.
I was kind of the same way. And
well,
I went to my dad's out of respect, but like my grandmother had a nurse and she moved to my house because she could no longer live in her giant house, and I didn't go to her funeral. Well,
when my sister's husband died, it was a very sudden thing, and so I had to go and support her, and it's like it literally was at that point I realized that I didn't actually have anything in my wardrobe that was appropriate to wear. It's like I had been avoiding those kind of things for so long. I actually didn't own anything I could wear.
I pissed a few people off because I refused to wear a dress to my mom's funeral, and I also refused to wear black. The outfit that I picked as far as the pants went were for me.
Yeah.
Because I was like, there's no way in fucking hell you're putting me in a dress, not for this shit.
Yeah. Well, I'm not even talking about like a suit or anything formal. I didn't even have a button-down shirt in a solid color.
Was it the reason you didn't want to wear a dress? Did it have to do with gender, or was it the formal of it, or what was it that you didn't like?
Yeah.
Junie.
Oh, I'm sorry. What was that?
Whoever it was who didn't want to wear a dress.
Oh, that was
it was me.
Okay.
I grew up Mormon, and I knew it was kind of disrespectful for me to do so.
Okay.
But at the same token, I didn't have a lot of chances to dress up in the previous 4 years before because I'd been taking care of my mom, and my sister almost constantly. So I didn't want the first time I was wearing a dress again to be at my mom's funeral after 4 years because I do like dressing up.
Yeah.
So I went
I
and
can
got
get that.
an outfit. I went and got an outfit. And also, my mom had told us as a family, she said, I don't want people wearing black at my funeral.
Yeah,
She
that makes sense.
consistently said that. It was never anywhere formal or anything like that. But my dad went for darker colors, but not black. I went for fuck that shit. I'm going to wear something a little bit bright. It wasn't like loud or anything. I wore like an off-white cream blouse, but
Yeah.
that was just my thing because I was just like I'm not wearing a dress, and like hell I'm wearing black after mom continuously telling us that that's not what she wanted.
Yeah.
That's fair. My mum has also said that. And it's just like, well, you know, fair enough. I will gladly wear like fuck off orange or something. Like I wore yellow and purple and my slippers to my granddad's funeral.
Yep.
Yeah, I think I wore colors because being a goth kid, like that, wearing black was just all I did. So it was like that was mostly my wardrobe.
Yeah, for my sister's husband dying, Sloth Girl actually went out and found me a dark purple dress shirt.
There's a singer I like, Laura Jane Grace. In her biography, she talks about going to the funeral of a friend, and she like it's like he was dressed in like a really goth clothes when he in his casket, and there was like goth music, and it was like it wasn't that like stereotypical, that traditional, because that obviously wouldn't have fit that person. He would most likely have wanted it to be done the way it was done.
Yeah, that's what I'm worried about, that, you know, they bring my body to a funeral home, they're going to put me in a suit and all this stuff, and it's like, no one who has known me has ever seen me in a suit. You know, so it's like, if you're going to have to do that, if you're going to have to view the body, you know, will you put me in the Transformers t-shirt and my jean jacket so people will see me the way they're used to seeing me?
Yeah.
See, I feel like this is something that I would want to speak to my little sister about, because she's doing textiles at college. But I think it would be really cool to format like my funeral attire effectively, have a dress with pockets, and then just put a few things that I'm always carrying around with me in said pockets so that I'm taking them with me.
Had to be big pockets.
Sloth Girl also has instructions to stuff all my pockets with fireworks for when they cremate my body.
Yes. If I didn't want my body buried under a tree, I would absolutely have that done.
Oh.
Okay, you know what? I need to I need fireworks and for somebody to set my body on fire and then put me in the catapult and throw me into the swamp. That would be just great.
Just like send an exploding tria at the gators.
Oh, the fireworks will stop by the time I get down there. It'll be fine. Nothing will happen to the babies. It'll be good.
Yeah. Oh, poor gators. I feel bad because like my grandmother was an atheist before she passed, and we ended up having a Catholic style funeral, and we did the rosary for like my goodness, I think there's like so many, like a whole week where you got to do the prayer.
Oh yeah.
Oh my goodness. And I was just like, I don't know if my grandma would have appreciated this.
See, but that's people not honoring the way someone lived. Like even today, when my mom was telling me everything about the person who passed, I do not go to parties, especially with this crowd.
Yeah.
Because it's weird because I have known these people have known me since longer than I've known me. Some of these people were at the hospital when I was born, you know. And they're all weird. People my age have weirdly become their parents. So when I walk in the room, I stick out because I'm not.
I
But I'm gonna
consider it my
feel-
greatest achievement that I'm more than 50 years old and no one has ever said I'm like my father.
Yeah, I same, exactly the
I'm
same.
the
I like my
opposite.
dad, and I take pride.
I love my dad, but I would not want to be exactly like him. Like, oh, you're so much like him. Like, no,
My-
I don't want to be.
See, I've been told I'm like a cross between my granddad and my dad, and I'll take that. Like my granddad on my mum's side and my dad.
Every
Because
time. Oh, sorry, I thought you were done, hun.
so good. Both of them are people who I admire certain traits of, and I certainly know that I don't have all of the negative traits from both of them, because that would just straight up make me a really shitty person.
Yeah, the only time I hear you're just like your mom is when people don't like how I'm handling shit. And I take that as a fucking compliment every time. They're like, I don't mean it as a compliment. And I'm like, I don't care. That woman was badass. So you can fuck right off.
Even most of my family says that I actually take after my mom's father, which I'm okay with because I think what they're missing is that, you know, he was nominally Christian because everyone was supposed to be, but I think he didn't have the vocabulary for it, but he was really pagan. Because when he really felt he needed to pray, he didn't go to church. He went out and sat on the hollow log in the forest.
I don't know if that's necessarily pagan. I know a couple of Christians who are like that.
No, but
that's
I mean,
that's at the very least fairly heretical.
I mean, just in so many other ways. That's, you know, what I got from him was just how everything in the forest was linked together and how all the life forms, you know, depended on each other. You know, and that's, a lot of my pagan attitudes came from my grandfather.
I feel like that is a fairly pagan attitude. The idea that everything is either in balance or is in a process of balancing.
Are you a pagan, Purple?
I was for 25 years. I'm atheist now.
Okay.
Well, I was going to say, like, now that I have at least more than one either former pagan or a pagan, I know I've asked this to Purple, but what is paganism?
Okay, so I will preface this with Purple's phrase that if you ask 10 pagans, you'll get 12 answers.
But could you repeat that?
If you ask 10 pagans to define paganism, you'll get 12 answers.
Okay.
There you go. There's that number again, 10 and 12.
Yep.
So,
there's very little agreement if you ask people who practice different paths.
So the general consensus on what paganism is typically minority religions. Certain sects of Buddhism and Hinduism people tend to count as well. That gets a bit weird, but basically, if it's not an Abrahamic religion and the people want to identify as pagan, that's generally chill. And then, like, religions that have been dead previously, like Hellenism and heathenry, they tend to be most definitely, yes, this is pagan. Some Wiccans are pagan, but not all of them. That's, again, an identification thing. But asking do all any given do all pagans X, the answer is no.
Yeah, I have heard a couple of people who have identified as Christian witches.
Oh, I used to be a Christian witch and then a Christo-pagan. That was a whole thing.
Isn't a Christian witch a bit of an oxymoron to some Christians, at least, that they
Oh, to some Christians, but I was well past heretical at that point.
Okay.
That was actually something that I brought up at Neil's show one time. Was that when I brought up I had a friend who was who practiced Wiccan, and I tried to convert her into Christianity. So now that is like, I don't think she really gave up that part, and people would call her a witch at school. So it's like, okay, so now she's a Christian witch.
Now, I find something really funny is that, and I don't talk about this an awful lot, but spicy opinion incoming. I will. The reason I use the label pagan as opposed to polytheist, and I know a lot of my pagan friends use the word polytheist, is that I'm only most of a polytheist. Like, when you get me and my partner Alex in a room, my partner Alex is an atheist asterisk. You have one full pagan and one full atheist, but you don't have one pagan person and one Christian person. No, I have words. Fuck. You don't have one polytheistic person and one atheistic person. Both of us are what we call chaots, which is a fun form of occultism that is centered around playing with beliefs and like actually consciously altering your beliefs. So like, I can choose to be an atheist at any given point. I just mostly don't.
That sounds like myself and my partner. Like, I'm the only known atheist in the entire, like, both sides of the family. My partner's still, I don't know. I would like to consider her pagan also, but it's, because she wants to still believe in something or hold on to something.
I mean, I'm always pagan. I'm just only mostly a polytheist. Like, I do sometimes act as an atheist because it's pragmatically useful. And in the moment I'm acting as an atheist, I just straight up am an atheist. And I did monotheism for a little bit the other week. That was weird. So yeah, I feel like that's probably actually a really spicy opinion, that you can actively, consciously change your beliefs.
Yeah. I'm sort of I'm skeptical of labels with this. Like, when I, like, my view, some people would describe it as agnostic, some people as atheist, and like, basically I have no clue if there is a God. I don't feel that I have a need in my life for a God. Like, I see a world that is like explainable without deities, but so I don't follow any religions or belief, or like, I live a life that if there is no gods, you could say, but I have no idea if there is one or not.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
pretty
and
much
it doesn't
what
really
I came
matter.
to.
Yeah,
it doesn't really matter what label you slap on it, so long as we understand the idea you're trying to convey.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, we can call you a unicorn so long as we understand what you mean.
Yeah, exactly.
And Aunt Jer, that is very fair. I know plenty of atheo-pagans and secular pagans, and that's just a thing.
Yeah. Well, and Microraptor, what you were saying was, pretty much how I, came to atheism, was that I pretty much came to the conclusion that whether or not any gods exist, I haven't seen any indication that they interact with anyone on this planet. So their existence is really irrelevant to my life.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like, I have no idea if there's life on other planets, but like, that doesn't affect me. So yeah, clearly they don't interact with us.
Yeah, so I will not definitively say there are no gods, but I don't see it as whether or not there are any as being relevant to anything.
And in my view, because I do accept that I could be incorrect with, polytheism, hence me sometimes changing that up, but anyway, I should stop trying to caveat everything and get to the point, shouldn't I? Sorry. Basically, if there is an afterlife, because I'm not entirely convinced necessarily there is, then I don't see why there would be separate afterlives for different people unless we each get our own individual afterlives, in which case it doesn't really matter.
Oh,
Yeah.
that'd be really complicated.
And I mean, the important part is that regardless of what we believe or don't believe, we all share the common belief that everyone should be respected, like anti-bigotry and stuff like that. We all want queer rights and stuff.
Yeah.
Those basic morals.
Yeah, nobody should be doing anything that limits other people in just enjoying their own life.
Yeah.
Yep. And to kind of bring up something that you stuck in the chat, Microraptor, doing the poly without the theism, I think possibly multiple of us in this chat do that.
Yeah, it was just a polyamory joke.
Yes. I mean, because who do we have that is polyamorous in here? Because I'm not actually certain about.
Yeah, well, I
know me and
definitely
Purple.
am. I could never do monogamy.
So we've definitely got me and Purple. Are you Microraptor or Junie?
I don't consider myself that, but like I could imagine having a relationship where we have sex with other people. So in that sense, yes. But I don't feel currently anyway. I don't feel a need for more than one partner. But I don't know. I might be poly. I might change my mind on that eventually.
I'm basically no to all of it until I get my shit sorted.
Yeah, I was gonna say we've had that conversation, haven't we, Tria?
Yeah, like until I figure out like some way to get around my defenses, that ain't gonna happen. Because when my defenses kick in, they kick in hard and they wind up hurting me and the other person really badly. And I don't know how to stop them because they're so built in. So
Lots of therapy.
I'm going to admit this now publicly. I was given information for a therapist. The only worry that I have is paying for her long term. Short term, I know I can do a few sessions, and whether or not we click, not my usual problems. But because I have a tendency to procrastinate when there aren't deadlines, and because I have problems with motivation, I do have information. I was supposed to reach out to somebody 2 weeks ago, and I still haven't. I'm trying to.
So is what I'm hearing that I need to check in with you in a week as to if you've done that?
Probably.
Okay. Yeah. That's fair.
I if I don't have a deadline that somebody else sets for me, if I try to set my own deadlines, it does not work.
All right, so I'm gonna check in with you in a week.
Okay. I'll try to at least have the letter written up before you check in with me.
Yeah, that's good. And like I have noticed that a lot of people talking about polyamory seem to assume that it just means that you get to date multiple people and don't think about the whole your partners are going to be dating other people. You're probably going to hear about that. And like this week, I've been trying to help my boyfriend get set up with a guy he's been flirting with.
Yeah. That's a really weird attitude. Why would it be only you? Like, of course, with that person. Because I would definitely.
It's funny the amount of people, though, that I mention I'm polyamorous and they go, oh, lucky or greedy for having multiple partners. And it's like, but then my partners have multiple partners too. So it doesn't quite work like that.
Yeah. And I absolutely know that if I like figure out that okay, I am polyamorous, then of course that person, people I'm with are also allowed to have other partners. Like that with having sex with other people, that obviously goes for both me and the other person. Like obviously something goes for both. Both are allowed.
Yeah, you'd assume so, wouldn't you? But the amount of people who that doesn't click for is insane.
Well, I mean, how often do we have to sit down and tell people about the subconscious norms they have in their head as aces? is Aces as well.
Oh yeah, my favorite is when I sat my boyfriend down the other day, who is completely allo, and
Oh no.
I had to explain to because he understands me being demi, but I sat him down and had to try and explain the fact that I'm aro to my boyfriend who I'm in a romantic relationship with.
I'm sorry. I'm laughing because I can imagine exactly how that conversation went.
Oh yeah, it's so for those not up with the lingo here, aro means aromantic, as in does not experience romantic attraction.
Mm-hmm.
And you can be in a romantic relationship and not experience romantic attraction, and you can feel romantic connection to someone without being romantically attracted to them if you've got a rapport.
Yeah.
Yeah, it gets complicated. But yeah, I can imagine how that
Yeah,
went.
and because I feel the need to occasionally mention something like this, there is in the works a plan for a stream talking about asexuality and aromantic stuffs.
Yeah,
That me and
need
Tria are gonna do.
Yeah, I need to get on to I needed to hop into that chat and get us all coordinated. Because I know that if I
didn't want
tell
to be too pushy.
Oh, I can be pushy for us.
Cheers. I just didn't want to be pushy with Lucy because I know Lucy said that there's stuff that needs doing.
I know what's going on exactly in the background, and I know when I can and cannot be pushy with them. So I'll go play that.
That's handy.
Another
I feel
stream,
like
another stream that should be coming out soon. Bud and I did a last minute live stream, which we probably should have prepped for instead of going, hey, we're going to meet in half an hour and do this. I'm currently working with him to edit some parts out of that stream. And then once we're done and I like how it looks and he likes how it looks, we'll re-upload that live stream as an edited video instead. So keep an eye out for that.
Yeah, at this point, I'm waiting for the edited version.
Awesome.
I know. I'm sorry. It's just there was so much that I wanted changed.
There's no need to apologize. And when you've got a live stream that went a couple hours, I can understand that, it could take weeks to go through it and cut out the bits you like and don't like.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm looking forward to that general ASPEC stream because I haven't done one of those in forever. And they're always fun.
I'm still trying to understand my sexuality. Like, I want to consider myself demi and also auto. But it's like, yeah, it's thanks to Will. I just read up like something about a technosexual, and I was just like, oh, what is that? So I had to look up that, and then I looked up and everything else under. I'm like, oh, well, this seems familiar with me. This also does too.
Always looking up for yourself. That's my motto.
Yep.
Always find out who you. I think that's awesome. Absolutely.
I would love to listen to a stream like that. I do have sexual and romantic feelings, so I'm not aromantic or asexual, but so I don't really know that much about those sexualities. I can always learn more.
Well, that's part of why I'm poly, is that I can have a strong sexual attraction to somebody and I can have romantic feelings for somebody, and I can enjoy either of those independently. They don't have to be with the same person.
Yeah.
So Anja has just asked if someone can explain demi. So it's basically when, in order to experience, well, if you're demisexual, this will apply to sexual attraction, and if you're demi-romantic, it will apply to romantic attraction. You have to have a strong emotional bond with someone before you can experience attraction to that person.
And it's not in the way of the person becomes more attractive over time. It's like zero attraction, nothing, and then once you've gotten to know them and you have a strong emotional bond with them, then you might experience attraction.
Yeah, for me, I only feel, and I'm gonna use partnership feels because they're not romantic. I've determined that, but I only have a attraction for a partnership with a particular person after having become best friends with them. Now, that's not the line for everybody. Like, not everybody has to be absolutely best friends. But for me, that's part of what has to happen before it clicks.
I'll be honest, I get emotionally attached real fucking easily. And so I have some like online friends that I'm attracted to because I just kind of spew attachment hormones everywhere.
I have to say, in my experience, those are, where the best and strongest relationships come from, is if you've had a strong friendship before it gets to be something romantic or sexual.
Well, the thing is that a lot of people think that they don't feel attraction until that happens, but how that seems to play out feels really, really fucking different. Because I've been at restaurants with friends and they'd be like, and I've heard I don't know how to phrase it out because nothing else is coming to mind. But basically, I'd fuck them kind of thing. Just watching somebody they don't even know pass by because they're physically attractive to them, and sexually, and for a lot of people, physical and sexual attraction both go hand in hand.
Yeah, see, for me, they don't. For me, aesthetic attraction is a bit of a, ooh, that person is nice to look at, but I wouldn't. See, I say I wouldn't necessarily fuck them. I have a stupidly high libido, so that's a toss-up.
Yeah, but the thing is that people act like, oh, demisexuality is just everybody, waiting until or, building that relationship. I'm like, no, there's usually an attraction there. It may not be strong, but usually the motivator is finding yourself attracted to somebody and then pursuing it. And that does not exist for me at all for years until after I've gotten to really seriously know that person. And
for me, it's usually a scale of months rather than years, but yes.
Yeah. And it's difficult to describe because, a lot of people do wait to really get invested in a person until after they get to know them. But for me, I don't go to a bar and think, oh, I'd like to get to know that person with the intent of maybe seeing where it goes. That's not even there. That thought doesn't even cross my mind. It's non-existent.
No, it's just like, I want to get to know that person because they look like they'd be cool to be friends with.
Yeah, see, for me, the relationships I've had that have lasted the longest have followed a very strange model that it's generally been somebody that I hooked up with on the computer and we chatted a bit and decided to get together and have sex and then got to know each other as friends and then developed a relationship after that.
Yeah.
If it works.
I don't know how, it came to that, but that's like, 3 of the 4 most significant relationships in my life. That's how they started. And to some degree, even with my fiance, except that we were living in different states. So it was, just getting to know each other on the computer for several months before we met in person.
Very fair. I mean, I am in a funny position of like, a lot of people ask me if being demisexual means that it's easier to get on with your exes, and not necessarily. Which I acknowledge that for me personally, absolutely fucking yes, because I'm still friends with all my exes. But equally, like, I know several demi people who hate most of their exes.
Yeah, I would have to agree with that. It's probably more easier to get.
Yeah, I've stayed friends with most of my exes.
I've mentioned it a couple of times. I'm rarely attracted to anybody, and so yeah. So if I'm ever gonna feel attracted to somebody, it has to be like a long time relationship towards with somebody.
I'm friends with some of my exes. Others legally can't be within 500 feet of me.
See, I acknowledge that, like, I am 19 and I have been in I have had like what 6 partners, so the experience there is relatively limited. But
I have had 3 partners, and I wouldn't say that we're enemies, but because of how things turn out when things get shut off for me, I can't feel for them any more than I would a stranger. And so I would say we're not friends. With the exception of one who I absolutely loathe, but for good reason. But yeah, the problem with me is there comes a point where I feel either burned out, or I see something that I feel is a red flag, even if it's not, and I will completely shut down on the other person. And so that's why I just avoid the whole thing.
Yeah, I'm sure omnisexual is really more accurate for me as well, but yeah, people don't really understand it. So I tend to stick to saying pansexual.
I find it really funny that people are really concerned about what, like, I've noticed a pattern that people will be really concerned about the genders that other people are willing to date. And it's like, do you realize how much of humanity are and always have been monster fuckers?
I've started to use the word lesbian because it's sort of, in the past I've kind of assumed that it's just women who's attracted to only women, but then it's sort of course most women who are attracted to women would be like okay, you're no, that it would be like, okay, you're a lesbian because you're attracted to women, but it doesn't really matter if you're also attracted to men and not binary people, and like it like that means you expand it to femme presenting or whatever. So yeah, because I'm attracted to women like every like gender isn't that important to me. I decided to use that one. So
yeah,
bisexual and pansexual is fine too.
Well, it's, I had to explain to people that my fiance was a lesbian, and she said many times that she could have never imagined living with someone who had a penis. But even though everyone else saw me as male, she saw me as female. So the fact that I lived with her for 5 years did not in any way change the fact that she was a lesbian.
Yeah.
I'm more of I'm a little bit less strict than some people, especially because of the way that I'm wired. I really feel like orientation should be defined partially by general experiences, because, and I'm not saying you have to do it this way, but I tend to go by the rule rather than the exception. Like, on exception, on occasion, I feel attraction to men, but it's so goddamn rare. Why should I wrap up my sexuality in like 2 or 3 times it actually occurs over a 30-year lifespan?
Because I think like, for example, if you're a straight man, you could see like a lot of straight men are comfortable saying, okay, I can see how that man is attractive, and some they might think it's okay to hug. They might enjoy hugging statement. Like, are the men, like, where is the limit? Where does the
Yeah.
sexuality start and where is just social?
Well, and I do believe that sexuality is not fixed. It can change over time.
Oh yeah, it can. Not the
And
way.
some people will argue about that, but I don't know if any of you are familiar with the Klein grid.
No, go ahead and explain.
No, I'm not.
Is it the one that has like all of the different rows and the columns and the colors?
Not so much the colors, but it's basically like 7 different characteristics to rate your sexuality on.
Hold on. I think I know what you're talking about, and I have a little bit of problems with the Klein grid. Yeah, because it doesn't include aromanticism.
Yeah, well, and that's I did run across it really before I knew anything about asexual. So,
Could you write the name in chat so I can see how it's spelled?
But no, actually, asexual fits in here, but aromanticism does not.
It also
and even though it's separate,
assumes that people are peri-oriented, which is a fancy term meaning that their sexuality and their romantic identity match up.
Yeah, that's where I'm getting, because like for somebody like me, my sexual attraction, if it exists, which I'm very questionable about, is completely different from my romantic orientation, which is demi-alterous. Which
okay, actually, you're making some good points I hadn't thought of in regard to this, so I'll have to go and review that again later. It's been a few years since I've really revisited it.
Yeah,
but one of the things I did like about that was that it acknowledged that no matter where you fell on your sexuality really had no bearing on what kind of relationship you might get into next month.
Well, and here's the thing that I kind of want to bring into that. Sexuality cannot be forced, but it can change over time. And I think that it's important to state it clearly, because you have people who are Christian, who are anti-queer, who say we can change it if we just force it. But then on the other side, we've got us who are like, because mine has definitely changed over time. I'm less ace now than I was in high school.
A lot of trans people say that they have one sexuality before transitioning, and then they alter that. It changes after transition. And that happened for me. And before my transition, when I was a teenager, I was more into men. I was still bisexual, but I more into men. And now, as I've understood more and more of my gender identity, and now I have started transitioning. But this is like before I actually started hormones. I started to gravitate more towards women. So yeah, it has definitely changed for me.
I've heard that a lot with trans people about, like you say, that they felt it was very different after their transitions.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's part of why I brought it up, because I wanted to make sure, because I'm very nitpicky about that kind of thing, because I deal with, as an ace, people going, oh, you just haven't found the right person yet. Let me set you up with somebody, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, no, setting somebody in front of me is not going to change how this works. It's not. So I just want to make sure we're being clear on
sexuality
what we're
can
saying.
change, but I think it really only changes, based on you having positive and negative experiences with different partners.
People can be wrong about their sexuality as well, and people can repress their sexuality, and that doesn't mean that their sexuality has changed. It just means they're trying very, very hard to ignore it.
Well, especially in our society that is so sexually repressive, I think that happens quite a lot. That
I talk about it all the time.
Yeah. You know, and
Yeah,
not even
yeah.
that people do it intentionally, but just that they're not really, you know, even aware that there are other options.
Yeah.
Well, I thought I was
You-
straight
the
for the
US
longest time.
Yeah. The
And
US
there
is
is
definitely more sexually suppressed than Sweden, but we have it here too, of course, to some extent.
I think the other thing is that there's a lot of neurodivergent people who ended up exploring their sexuality because their brain worked differently, and it was like, I don't fit the normal rules, so they just questioned every fucker.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's certainly what happened to me. That, you know, it was like once you put one chink in what's normal, then I had to question everything in every facet of my life.
Oh,
Especially if you have
gosh.
autism.
Oh, gosh.
Because
Oh.
I
you
like to
sound like
joke.
the story there, Tria.
Mhm.
I like to joke that because of my ADHD, it's hard to focus on only one gender.
Yeah, well, it's, you know, for me, it's been, I went all my life knowing that I was somehow odd, but, you know, never knowing what it was. And it's like decade by decade, it's been like, oh, there's a term for that? There's other people that way?
Right.
Yeah, I had that too.
That's actually one of my favorite responses when I tell people shit, is there's a term for that. Because I'm just like, hi, I helped you discover. Yes.
Yeah,
exactly.
I have reached the point where friends will come to me and be like, "Hey, is there a term for this thing?"
Yeah, and it's so much fun to watch because I'm really not wanting to change people. I just want them to make more realization about themselves and like other people around them. But it's always fun to have people start poking and asking questions, and I'm just like, yeah, give it about half an hour.
Yeah.
Huh?
My favorites
There you
are
go.
watching. My favorites are watching ace people and bi people realize their sexuality.
I have really been enjoying watching, and again, romantic orientation is separate from sexual orientation. But I really have enjoyed watching people realize that they're aromantic around me because that's just been a ball. Because usually by the time they're done, they're like, "What the fuck is romance?" I'm like, "Why are you
Yeah.
asking me? Like, I
And
know."
something that should be noted as well is that you get the stereotype of the gay friend. That was invented by cishet, probably cishet allo people, being honest. And you will find in reality that gay people sort of congregate, and that's any sort of queer. You're like, oh, this one's ace, this one's pan, that one's trans. We're not really sure about sexuality yet. That one's demi. That guy over there thinks he's straight.
For now.
He thinks he's straight. He's wearing cuffed jeans and 3 layers of denim.
One of my favorite labels is spaghetti lesbian. She's straight until she's wet.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, that's a new one.
Yeah, it's a joke label, so like no one actually has that.
But yeah, it was so funny. We still have we still have one straight friend in our group. We're pretty sure he's straight, but he's looking around at the rest of us. And he's like, "You all were queer all along." And we were like, "Yeah, we just
Yeah, pretty
got
much.
each
We
other."
do. My high school group has a straight friend left, but my college group does not.
Yeah, my fiance had started saying I had a chameleon sexuality, that it just kind of morphed based on who was available.
Yeah.
Would that be the any sexuality that you and Jenny were talking about?
Well, I'm gonna head off and go to bed.
Yeah. Well, we have been going 3.5 hours, so maybe this is a good point to shut it down here. So yeah, Will, why don't you you know, plug your stuff and then you can head out.
Oh, Sam is here. Hi, I'm Godless Sewing. I'm exhausted. If you like tire fires and people just generally talking about anything, every Thursday, Jen from Jen's Little Corner, Kitty the Atheist, and myself, we have the What the Fuck stream, our show, and we pick a topic and judge it. And I won't go in too hard about pub religion because Sam is here as well, but that's every Wednesday. And Purple's here as well, so I won't chill like I normally do. Go subscribe to the Godless Sewing channel.
Yeah, we've got a lot of overlap going on with the people in here.
Yep.
And I'm Godless Sewing from the Godless Sewing channel. Thank you, Tria.
Okay.
Started teasing you in the chat.
My script is lost.
Okay, Junie, what do you have coming up? And again, I have to thank Junie for the lovely new avatar. So I have a way to present as female, at least online.
Very nice.
Oh, you're absolutely welcome. Yeah, so if anybody else wants an avatar for themselves, hit me up. I am planning on doing a season finale for my channel. I will probably stop doing or producing or even doing anything, be taking a break by mid-June, but I am still in the process of editing some of the deconversion stories that I've had, and I'm hoping that I can at least start this one show called and I'm going to steal it from B, so sorry, B, Atheist Takeover, where we pretty much look at, respond to anything that is a church service. That's how pretty much, if you've ever seen any of my Sunday service since, I would do that, but live and maybe with a trio of people. And that's pretty much it.
I'm gonna be on a different stream in 1.5 hours on the NASA Black Site 33 channel. We're gonna talk about Star Wars, and it's sort of like this community, like the banking flat earth and the banking laughing at like conspiracies and stuff like that. So it's tangentially related to this. Many of you might know that channel, but yeah, a lot of people are both in this community and that community.
Yep, there's a lot of crossover there.
Yeah.
Yep.
So yeah, I'm gonna be there on the channel.
Okay. Well, it's 3:30 in the morning where I am, so as soon as we shut down, I'm gonna go get horizontal in a dark room for a few hours.
Yeah.
I'm not saying I'm going to sleep because, yeah, it's kind of lottery whether or not that happens for me, but okay. But yeah, hope you have a good show. Tria, you have anything, or I know you've got a lot in the works, just not quite sure when anything's going to finish up.
Yeah, I will announce when Bub and I are done, kind of like looking over last night's live stream and getting it to where we both like it. There was just a lot of little things that we weren't happy with. So we're going to be doing that. I'm going to try to get that done as quickly as possible because I just want to get it done and over with. But I did a live stream with him talking about ACEs and how they deal with medicine. So it was a really good topic. So hopefully like I said, hopefully we'll get that back put up online as quickly as possible. I am mostly doing tabletops with Godless Cranium. If you enjoy doing tabletops and you want to join a very, very chill, laid back server, we try all kinds of different systems. I think this weekend the crew is doing Deadlands. But yeah, just get in touch with GC if you're interested. And I am mostly on Twitter. doing Twitter things, showing pictures of my overlord Elmer, talking about tabletops, ex-Mormonism, and being Arrow Ace. And that's it for me.
Okay. Yeah, I had to highlight Jen's comment here, about the soft lighting for the avatar. That's also one of the things I particularly like about it. That seems to have a kind of purple glow to it.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's a great avatar.
Pretty.
And
was that all you were shilling there, Tria, or?
Yeah, that's why I said I'm done.
Yep, she's wrapped
Sorry,
up.
my brain blanked out for a second.
No, I was being good and waiting until she finished.
Fair. So, I have a couple of different things. So I said I was going to have my video on pronouns out by the end of April, but I am incompetent and left my laptop unplugged while editing.
I think we need to extend April an extra week because there's a bunch of projects supposed to be out in April that aren't finished yet.
Oh yeah. So I'm just going to assume the next week is April, and I'm going to say I'm going to try and get it done this week, but we'll see because shit has come up.
What happened to my birthday then? Because it's on Tuesday. What happened to my birthday?
Your birthday can be in extended April. It's fine.
Okay.
So then on every Wednesday, which will include this Wednesday, we have Pub Religion. This week we've got episode 5. I think that's talking about purity culture. And we got myself, Will, who is my atheist co-host, and Maddie, who is my Christian co-host.
Yeah.
Also, I said the wrong name. It's NASA Bunkers for the free, and I posted the link in there.
Okay. I thought that was the channel you were talking about. I just wasn't sure if I was following you. Yeah, I've been over there a couple of times when I just gave up on sleeping because they're usually on when I'm supposed to be asleep.
Yeah.
When you guys said pub religion, I wasn't so sure, like, with the I guess the intent of it. But then I think, Will, you mentioned what scenario is what happens when you get a pagan and a Christian and an atheist together in a bar.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
we lost Sam.
Yeah. Not sure if that was a connection problem. I hope they were done.
This, of course, the joke. An atheist, a Christian, and a Muslim walk into a bar and have a great time because they're not assholes.
Yep. So, for me, this Wednesday I will not be doing the regular afternoon stream because I have to take Sloth Girl to an appointment. I need to be there with her. But yeah, Thursday at midnight we'll be doing the regular show, and Thursday evening I'll be on with Will and Jen. And Friday evenings at 7 Central, I generally am on with the shills. So that's about what I expect I have upcoming for the coming week here. So I would again like to thank all of my subscribers. Junie, of course, is both a Patreon subscriber and did the new avatar. And Von Rick and Ox, Robert X, Mikey Famine, the Lavender Lady, and Greg Hartwick. Greg Hartwick is with us now and has been my longest subscriber for like a year before anyone else did. So, I do appreciate your support. So does anyone have any last words before I click the button and disconnect us?
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
You've survived us for 3 years, Purple. Congrats.
I've made a lot of good friends in that time. So. Okay, so we will see you all later. Bye-bye.
Bye.